Chapter 605. The sun rose in the east and set in the west, but there was no sun in the wine-red nebula of the Sagittarius constellation. Flowers bloomed and withered, but in this void, people had forgotten what year it was. Ever since the incident with Lin Jun, the heavenly gate had become much calmer. The first place of the black hole stage was still Kuxiangnan. He even failed twice after that, but he finally succeeded in passing the heavenly gate, becoming the first black hole stage cultivator in the new territories to pass the heavenly gate. After Kuxiangnan, the heavenly gate was in a state of full bloom. Many martial artists made breakthroughs and began to pass the heavenly gate. There were almost no world king powerhouses left, and there were not many domain kings left. Even the nebula stage, cultivators began to pass the heavenly gate in large numbers. After the black hole stage, there was a second, a third time passed by 100 years after another. The popularity of the heavenly gate gradually decreased. Although there were still martial artists rushing over, they were far slower than those who left. Pass the heavenly gate or return home. More and more martial artists made their choice. The line that once stretched for hundreds of thousands of kilometers was now only a few kilometers long. From afar, the once glorious heavenly gate had become empty, as if there would be no more miracles. Lin Jun, who once competed with Kuxiangnan for the first place of the black hole stage, had been completely forgotten in the past few hundred years. Almost no one even remembered Kuxianglong, who was sealed by the great moon chaser god. Some of the latecomers didn't even know about this at all. They could only occasionally hear from some old people who were still unwilling to stay here in the Elysium. It seemed that there was once a powerful black hole period sealed in a space somewhere, and it was impossible for him to come out. Silence. Boundless and endless, with no end in sight. It was deathly silent. Only Lin Jun's body was floating, as if he wanted to stay here forever. He did not know how long had passed. Perhaps it was a day, perhaps it was 100 years. He felt that he might have already died, or he might still be alive, drifting through the endless years. It was already a miracle that he was able to persevere without collapsing. He hoped that there was something that he could feel, something that he could do to let him know if he was still alive. Until one day, a clear and melodious laughter rang out. Lin Jun abruptly opened his eyes, revealing a look of ecstasy. To Lin Jun, the laughter of this little girl was no different from the sound of nature. Who is it? Lin Jun's gaze followed the source of the laughter. He saw a little girl in colorful clothes sitting on a lattice of light far away. The little girl was only 4 or 5 years old. She had 2 pigtails and looked very cute. She had big eyes and a round face. She was fair and clean. It was obvious that she was a beauty. Lin Jun raised his hand and waved at the little girl. "Little friend, who are you? Come over to me." Ever since he had seen Yaya on White Magnolia Star, Lin Jun had developed an inexplicable fondness for the little girl. Unfortunately, Yaya was no longer with him. This little girl was very likable. When the little girl heard Lin Jun's question, she suddenly pouted. "Master, don't you recognize me? You are? You're Chris?" Yes, it's me. Master, we haven't seen each other for a long time." "Yes, it's been a long time. It's been so long that I almost forgot about you." "Master, it's not that Chris doesn't want to accompany you. It's just that you're in a different dimension and the dimensional universe system can't communicate with you. I can't make any contact with you either. So for so many years, I've been working hard to communicate with you. I finally succeeded today." Lin Jun woke up from his trance. "You can communicate with me? How did you do it?" "Master, that's an upgrade. I don't know when it started, but I was able to think on my own. This is called awakening for intelligent life forms like us. Only after awakening can an intelligent life form be a true independent life form. Otherwise, I was at most a program before." "You're saying that you can think independently." "Yes, I know a lot of things now. It's also because I know a lot of things that I can communicate with you." "Master, if there's anything you don't know, you can ask me." Looking at the brand new Chris, who was like a little girl, Lin Jun was excited. "That's great. Do you know any way to get me out of this space?" "I'm sorry, Master. I can chat with you to relieve your boredom, but the treasure that sealed you came from the primordial realm and was sealed by the Realm King. Unless your strength can surpass the Realm King, you can't break out of this space. But I can't cultivate it all now. How can I break out of this space? Master, I really don't know what to do. Although I have my own thoughts, I still exist in an intelligent system. I can't provide you with any practical help. Lin Jun nodded helplessly. All right then. Let me ask you again. How long have I been sealed? Master, I can answer your question. It has been 700 years since you entered this space to your current position. 700 years. Lin Jun was shocked. Because he was fighting the urge to sleep, he had almost forgotten the passage of time. He had no idea how long he had been here. However, he didn't expect that 700 years had passed. Isn't the heavenly gate about to close? Yes, the heavenly gate is about to close. There are less than 20 years left. To be precise, there are still 18 years and 16 days left. Hearing this number, Lin Jun's heart skipped a beat. He had stayed in the heavenly gate for more than 200 years. After careful calculation, it had been almost 1,000 years since he was reborn. There were less than 20 years left before the heavenly gate closed. If he couldn't pass through the heavenly gate in 20 years, Lin Jun would have to stay in the new territories forever. Staying in the new territories meant that he couldn't enter the immortal level. Even if Lin Jun could break out of the extra-dimensional space and leave, he could only cultivate to the peak of World King in the new territories. So what if he had 10,000 years of life? He couldn't go to the primordial realm and would eventually die. Moreover, his life wasn't his own. He still had his family, his parents, his wife, and his children. Their hopes were all on him. Moreover, he still had his wife in the primordial realm. Little Phoenix was still waiting for him there. The 1,000-year agreement with Little Phoenix was almost up. There were less than 30 years left. Lin Jun couldn't stay here no matter what. He had to find a way to leave. Besides my own breakthrough, is there any other way to leave? Master, I'm not sure. However, even if it's a treasure from the primordial realm, it has a limit. If there's a strong enough force outside that hits this treasure, it's theoretically possible to break it. Outside force. Lin Jun pondered for a moment and suddenly shouted, I remember now. My doppelganger is still roaming outside. My doppelganger is still in the chaotic Star River. He has already reached the peak of the infant stage. Lin Jun urgently said to Chris, Chris, remember to keep me awake at all times. Don't let me fall asleep. Don't worry, Master. I've learned a lot of new jokes recently. I can tell you jokes. I guarantee you'll be full of energy. With that, Chris began to tell Lin Jun a story. It said that in the primordial realm, there used to be a mountain. There was a temple on the mountain, and an immortal lived in the temple. Since there was a mountain, a god, and a temple, the temple was called the Mountain God Temple. Lin Jun glanced at the seemingly innocent and cute little girl. He felt that her intelligence didn't seem to be a good thing. His thoughts turned, and his mind power went to the clone. Lin Jun's battleship crashed into a meteorite and was damaged. The clone fell into a deep sleep, and no one was controlling the battleship. In the end, it was hit by a meteorite and couldn't reach the dark corridor. The clone woke up from its deep sleep. He didn't even have time to check on the battleship. He directly used planet teleportation to leave the ship. He still wanted to go back through the light corridor. At this time, it was impossible for anyone to stop him outside the light corridor. His target was very clear. It was the Fire Qilin Empire's Qilin transformation pool. To break the primordial realm's treasure, he needed a lot of power. With Lin Jun's current strength, the clone's strength was probably not enough. He needed even more power. That power was the domain monarch-level power that the clone possessed after transforming into a Qilin. This was also the only thing that Lin Jun could count on. He didn't dare to look for his family. Before he had enough power to protect them, he didn't want them to walk in front of him. This was a risk that he couldn't take. As expected, there was no one guarding the light corridor. From the light corridor to the Fire Qilin Empire, Lin Jun's clone desperately teleported and arrived in a month. After arriving, Lin Jun directly teleported into the Qilin's sacred planet and teleported to the palace's entrance again. Stop! Who dares to trespass into the palace? Two guards stopped Lin Jun. Lin Jun flicked his hand and threw a token to the two guards. Then, He teleported again and was already in front of the Qilin transformation pool. That token was the pass that Tian Haoyu gave him back then. Tian Haoyu had already gone to the primordial realm, and the Fire Qilin's successor was his grandson. Seeing that it was a token left behind by the ancestor emperor, the guards didn't dare to delay and hurriedly reported it. Lin Jun, on the other hand, stood by the pond. The pool was overflowing with spirit energy and contained a mysterious substance that could allow his Fire Qilin's body to evolve into a real galactic beast. I'm finally back. Now is the time to possess the power of a domain monarch. Lin Jun couldn't care about anything else. He immediately revealed his Fire Qilin form and jumped into the Qilin transformation pool. I stayed up all night to write this chapter in the internet cafe. He too was traveling in Zhangjiajie and was so tired that he had to spend the entire night writing. Today is the 18th. I flew home on the 21st and will reach home at night. I'll try to write a chapter every day for the next few days because I'll enter Zhangjiajie at dawn. Chapter 606. After Lin Jun entered the Qilin pool, a guard immediately reported the news to the new emperor of the empire. The new emperor of the Fire Qilin Empire was called Tian Haoming, and he was Tian Haoyu's grandson. After hearing the guard's report, he was stunned for a moment, but then waved his hand to dismiss the guard. After taking the pass that his grandfather had left behind and looking at it for a while, Tian Haoming stood up resolutely and walked out. After a few turns, he came to a corner of the palace. There was a pond here, and there was a wooden bridge that led to a wooden house. He knocked on the door of the wooden house, and a voice came from inside. "Come in." Tian Haoming pushed the door open and entered the house. His gaze landed on a person in the corner, and he bowed slightly. "Greetings, Senior Ke." It was a young man who looked to be in his 20s. He wore coarse clothes and was brewing tea indoors. However, his powerful aura showed that he was a peak domain monarch, the strongest among the domain monarchs. This person was Ku Xiangdong. Ku Xianglong was sealed, and Ku Xiangnan entered the primordial realm, but Ku Xiangdong did not leave, because he was worried. Although Lin Jun was sealed by his father, Ku Xiangdong knew that Lin Jun still had a clone that was wandering outside and had entered the Chaotic Star River. Within the Chaotic Star River, there was no way for him to chase after Lin Jun. However, he was still worried. After Ku Xiangdong conducted many investigations, he finally confirmed one thing. Lin Jun had once obtained a spot to enter the Qilin pool. From Ku Xiangdong's point of view, if Lin Jun's main body wanted to escape, the only hope was his clone. And if his clone went to rescue his original body, then he would definitely enter the Qilin pool and transform his body into a real galactic beast with the power of a domain monarch. Only then would he have a glimmer of hope of escaping. Ku Xiangdong knew very well that if he did not kill the snake, it would only harm him. He even delayed his trip to the primordial realm because of this and patiently cultivated in the new territories while waiting for Lin Jun's news. After waiting for 200 years, he still felt worried, so he simply moved to the palace of the Fire Qilin Empire. After Tian Haoyu and some other powerful world kings left, no one in the entire Fire Qilin Empire was Ku Xiangdong's match. He easily subdued the current emperor, Tian Haoming, and turned him into his puppet. He was waiting for news of the arrival of Lin Jun's clone. Therefore, when he saw Tian Haoming, who had not visited for hundreds of years, he knew that the news he had been waiting for had arrived. How is it? Did Lin Jun's clone come to the Qilin transformation pool? Senior Ku is indeed a genius. Lin Jun's doppelganger has indeed come. He has already entered the Qilin transformation pool. Ku Xiangdong nodded slightly. He had thought about this matter countless times in his heart. Now, everything was finally going according to his plan. Looks like my judgment was right. This brat is really lucky. Not only is his original body still alive, his consciousness is still clear. Otherwise, his clone would not have been able to come here. Luckily, I was prepared. Otherwise, he really might have succeeded. Senior, are you going to make a move on Lin Jun's clone now? Ku Xiangdong shook his head slightly. No, Lin Jun's escape methods are elusive. If we try to catch him, we might miss. Since we know that he has come to the Qilin transformation pool, it's enough. The place to kill him is another place. Ku Xiangdong stood up as he spoke and slowly walked around the room. Lin Zhen's original body has been sealed, but we can't be sure if he is still in that space. Who knows if the primordial realm's treasures will be wandering in that space. We have to find where his original body is and catch him in one fell swoop. Therefore, the best place is to let Lin Zhen's clone find his original body. Tian Haoming thought for a while. Senior, you must be careful. When I was young, I heard from my grandfather that Lin Zhen's strength is unfathomable. Although he is in the black hole stage, if anyone is blinded by his realm, they will definitely suffer a great loss. Of course, I know this. This brat's star power has exceeded 100,000. He definitely cannot be treated as a black hole stage cultivator. He is even comparable to a weak domain monarch, but that is all. Even if his galactic beast has the power of a domain monarch in the end, I can still make sure that he does not return. Hearing Ku Xiangdong's words, Tian Haoming nodded. I believe that everything is under your control. Ku Xiangdong smiled and opened the dimensional universe communication channel. How many people are still in the heavenly gates? Someone replied, Your Highness, the people you arranged are all here. There are a total of 30 domain monarchs and your first teacher, the Spirit Void World King. These people did not go to the primordial realm and have been waiting for your orders. That's great. Teacher is still here. He is now the only realm king in the heavenly gates, right? That's right. Now that the heavenly gates is about to close, all the realm kings have left. Only Senior Spirit Void is the strongest person here. Then there's no problem. Tell everyone to get ready. Lin Zhen will probably return to the Elysium in a few days to rescue his real body. As long as Lin Zhen's doppelganger appears, we'll wait for the opportunity to strike. We must succeed in one strike and eliminate the source of trouble. Don't worry, Your Highness. Everyone is waiting for this day to completely eliminate Lin Zhen's clone. His original body is hopeless. Ku Xiangdong chuckled and hung up the communication. Then he said to Tian Haoming, closely monitor Lin Zhen's actions. Please rest assured, Senior, there will definitely be no mistakes. Asterisk, 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 gurgle, gurgle. Strings of bubbles boiled on the surface of Lin Zhen's body as if they were gushing out from his pores. Streams of red water gushed out from the gaps in his scales, making the Qilin pool look like a pool of blood. This was a complete transformation. At this moment, his clone was already a huge galactic beast, Fire Qilin. His physical strength was increasing exponentially. The Fire Qilin in Lin Zhen's body had begun to awaken. He had already taken the most important step. Crack, crack, crack. His bones were growing. Huge bone spurs protruded from his back and extended all the way to the end of his tail. Huge scales appeared on his body. Those scales were 100 times harder than the hardest steel. His long mane floated behind his head, and his huge teeth gleamed coldly. An uncontrollable aura grew in his chest, and his muscles began to expand. Lin Zhen suddenly raised his head and rushed out of the water with a roar. Flames and smoke filled with the smell of sulfur spewed out from his nostrils. The dark green flames were already starting to glow. He had become a galactic beast in the growth stage. When a galactic beast entered the growth stage, it would be at the Domain King realm. At this moment, Lin Zhen felt a restless feeling in the depths of his soul. That was another soul. It originally belonged to Lin Zhen's close friend, Xiaowan's soul. The activation of the Fire Qilin bloodline caused Xiaowan's soul to show signs of awakening. If it was any other time, Lin Zhen would be very happy to let Xiaowan wake up. After all, the method of transferring astral power was no longer suitable for many situations. At least, he wouldn't be able to use it to break through the heavenly gate. He might as well return it to Xiaowan. However, at this moment, Lin Zhen hoped that Xiaowan would wake up later so that he could at least finish his task. Without wasting any more time, Lin Zhen teleported away from the planet. After the galactic beast evolved, Lin Zhen's astral power increased to an unbelievable level. He couldn't even calculate how much astral power he had now. He didn't have the time to do so either. He went straight to the Fire Qilin Empire's wormhole. After passing through the wormhole, he rushed to the Sanjiang Federation. Lin Jun even hijacked a small Eternity Crystal spaceship midway and flew into the parallel universe at the fastest speed possible. If he didn't hurry, he wouldn't be able to suppress Xiao Nuan's awakening. In front of the Heavenly Gate, there was a special small group led by an old man. This person was very famous in the Sorcerer Empire. He was the Sorcerer Empire's state teacher and was called the Spirit Void Realm King. Not only did he teach the brothers Ku Xiangdong and Ku Xiangnan, but he also taught their father, Ku Xianglong. Perhaps he wasn't the strongest or most talented Realm King, but he was definitely the oldest. As a level 7 Realm King, Spirit Void's strength wasn't enough to break through the Heavenly Gate. However, his strength was enough to crush any Domain King. Besides Spirit Void, there were 30 Domain King level experts. They were all royal guards of the Sorcerer Empire and had grown up with Xianglong. Now, they were all Domain Kings. Most of the experts of the Sorcerer Empire were once his disciples and had to respectfully call him teacher. These Domain Kings were now beside the Spirit Void Realm King, waiting for his orders. The Spirit Void Realm King cut off the communication with the dimensional universe and said to the 30 Domain Kings, "Children, it's finally time for us to make a move. I believe everyone hasn't forgotten why we are here, right?" A Domain King said, "Teacher, we are very clear that we have been indebted to the royal family and you for so many years. We are already an inseparable part of the Sorcerer Empire. Although His Majesty has been sealed and Prince Xiang Nan has gone to the primordial realm, we will never forget how Lin Jun humiliated our Sorcerer Empire's royal family." That's right. As far as I know, Xiangnan didn't have a good time in the primordial realm. Lin Jun's matter made him a laughingstock, and His Majesty was also sealed because of him. If that was all, it wouldn't be a big deal. However, I just received news from Prince Yangdong that Lin Jun's clone has become a Domain King level galactic beast and is coming here. What? This guy still dares to come? He's not dead yet? Then let's make him die again. Avenge His Majesty. Avenge the prince's humiliation. The Spirit Void Realm King nodded with satisfaction. Everyone is right. Our mission is very simple. When Lin Jun's clone appears, we will completely destroy him, so that his original body will have no chance to escape. Yes, the Heavenly Gate is about to close. In order to save his original body, Lin Jun will definitely not give up. He will not escape, but we will kill him. The Spirit Void Realm stood up. Since everyone understands, then I won't give any more instructions. Let's do as we have planned. The 30 Domain Kings stood beside the Spirit Void Realm King, waiting for Lin Jun's arrival. The Spirit Void Realm King looked up at the wine-red nebula in the sky. He felt that the nebula was dark red and felt inexplicably uneasy. Chapter 607. The Spiritual Void Realm King was already over 9,000 years old and was about to reach the end of his lifespan. He felt that he had already seen through everything. He didn't need to take anything to heart. No matter what happened, it wouldn't be enough to shock him. However, the anomaly in the sky made him feel fear from his soul. What's going on? Have I been thinking too much recently? There's no one here who can threaten me. The Spiritual Void Realm King shook his head to get rid of this ridiculous feeling and decided not to think about it. Teacher, look, there's a galactic beast rushing over. A Domain King suddenly raised his hand and pointed forward. A fire Qilin was rushing over from the starry sky. It's Lin Jun. Everyone, hide and get ready. All the Domain Kings immediately entered their designated battle positions and waited for Lin Jun's clone to arrive. When he returned to the vicinity of the Heavenly Gate again, everything had changed. Looking at the empty Heavenly Gate, Lin Jun vaguely felt threatened. As a Domain King galactic beast, there were not many things that could threaten Lin Jun. Lin Jun could even fight a peak Domain King, but this feeling meant that there was a Realm King here. I can't care so much. Even if there's a Realm King here, he might not be targeting me. Lin Jun slowed down. His hooves dug into the ground gently as he searched for his original body. After walking for a while, he stopped at the place where Lin Jun was sealed by Ku Xianglong. The treasure in the mirror space didn't move away. Instead, it stayed in this space all this time. The original body and the clone were not just connected by blood. They were actually one. When Lin Zhan's huge fire Qilin passed by outside the space, the original body could easily sense it even if it crossed the boundary of time and space. It's here. Lin Zhan stood up in the mirror space. The sleepiness that had plagued him for many years was swept away. After the clone sensed the location of the original body, it immediately stopped. The fire Qilin's roar shook the world. All the surrounding warriors stared at the huge fire Qilin. Teacher, should we make a move now? A domain monarch asked the Spirit Void Realm monarch. The Spirit Void Realm king shook his head slightly. Don't worry. He will be there no matter what we do. He will definitely not be able to escape. Now that his momentum is at its peak, it is not the best time. However, I'm worried that Lin Zhan's doppelganger will really rescue his main body. That will be troublesome. Ha ha ha. Don't worry. I've already obtained news that this mirror dimension space is a rare treasure in the primordial realm. Let alone Lin Zhan's current strength. Even a peak world king wouldn't be able to damage this mirror dimension space in the slightest. What he's doing now is useless, let alone breaking it. I fear he won't even be able to make the treasure appear. Just as Ling Xu was speaking, Lin Zhan had already begun to make his move. It opened its huge mouth and spewed out a ball of dark green flames, heading straight for the place where the main body was hiding. The dark green fire could already burn the void. Suddenly, a large part of the wine-red nebula at the divine gate collapsed. All the dust and dark matter in the universe disappeared in this ball of fire. The crackling firepower caused everyone to hide far away, leaving Lin Zhan alone here. After the dark green flames passed, the void was smooth as if it had been washed clean. There was nothing left. The mirror dimension space that hid the main body also didn't appear. Lin Zhan wasn't discouraged because of this. He knew that it wouldn't be easy to force out this treasure. Even if this move didn't succeed, he still had an even more powerful backup plan. Its huge head shook, and its golden mane fluttered in the wind. 2 balls of smoke shot out from its nostrils like 2 fire dragons, each one 1,000 meters long. His body retreated tens of thousands of meters. Then, Lin Zhan spread out his forehooves and fiercely rushed towards the place where the main body was hiding. His speed instantly soared to the limit. His body turned into a stream of light as he waved his huge claws, tearing through the void. Kacha! Space was torn apart by Lin Zhan's attack, and a turbulent flow of energy burst forth. In the dim light, a faint clue appeared in a corner of the dark space. Damn! He succeeded. Too powerful. This Lin Zhan's fire Qilin body is really too strong. The power of this attack is almost comparable to a peak domain monarch. It's too scary. So, the legends are all true. When I heard about Lin Zhan's story before, I thought it was all an exaggeration. Everyone was in a heated discussion, and their gazes towards Lin Zhan were filled with respect. Teacher, the situation has changed. This Lin Zhan's strength seems to have exceeded our expectations. Should we make a move now? The Spirit Void Domain Monarch's expression was also ugly as he looked up at the sky. For some reason, the weather today was very bad. The entire universe seemed to be restless, which made him feel slightly uneasy. He kept feeling that something bad was about to happen. This was also one of the reasons why he hadn't made a move on Lin Zhan yet. Wait a little longer. Lin Zhan hasn't completely succeeded. Once he really forces the mirror dimension space out of the void, it will be time for us to make a move. Understood. The 30 domain monarchs had already hidden themselves in the best position to make a move and were waiting for the situation to change. Lin Zhan was aware of the situation around him, but he didn't have time to care about that. After the attack just now, Xiaowan's aura had awakened further. Although Xiaowan was his pet, he couldn't control it as he wished. It wasn't as convenient as having a clone. Thus, his time was limited, and the key now was to save his main body. Without caring about anything else, Lin Zhan retreated again and then sped up. He waved his front claws and struck again. Slash! A long electric snake traversed the sky. Inside the mirror dimension space, Lin Zhan's main body and clone moved at the same time. A pincer attack from inside and outside. Rumble. With a thunderclap, an edge of the mirror dimension space was revealed. Again, Lin Jun didn't stop at all. He retreated and charged. He waved his claws and attacked again. Inside the mirror dimension space, Lin Jun also raised his strength to the limit. Collapse. Two powerful forces acted on the same point. The mirror dimension space buzzed slightly. This treasure used by the domain monarchs couldn't withstand Lin Jun's attack and appeared from the heavenly gate. Spirit Void Monarch's eyes widened. He didn't expect Lin Jun to be so strong. This fire Qilin already had the strength of a peak domain monarch, and he actually blasted the primordial realm's treasure out. Although the Spirit Void domain monarch firmly believed that even if Lin Jun was stronger, it was impossible for him to break the mirror dimension space. He couldn't wait and didn't dare to wait. He waved his hand. Everyone attack. We definitely won't give Lin Jun a chance to break the mirror dimension space. The 30 domain monarchs rushed up and attacked Lin Jun. In an instant, powerful attacks filled every inch of space. Anyone below the domain monarch level would be killed instantly if they entered this range. However, Lin Jun's fire Qilin shook its head and used a short-distance teleportation at the critical moment to dodge this wave of attacks. This teleportation was beyond everyone's expectations. Although Lin Jun had 99% of the Green Ray's spiritual power, it was almost impossible for him to teleport in front of these domain monarchs. However, he succeeded because the Starry River Beast's spiritual power was almost solidified. In addition, Lin Jun's spiritual power was strong enough, so he actually succeeded in teleporting. As a result, all the attacks landed on the mirror dimension space. Lin Jun turned back, his heart full of hope. He was waiting for the domain monarchs to attack so that he could borrow their strength to break the mirror dimension space. However, he didn't expect that such a powerful attack couldn't even cause the mirror dimension space to tremble. This was the combined attack of 30 domain monarchs. Seeing this, Lin Jun was stunned. On the other side, the Spirit Void domain monarch suddenly laughed loudly. Ha ha! Lin Jun, I can't help but admire you for being able to think of a way to borrow power. It's a pity that you've miscalculated. How can a treasure from the primordial realm be something you can scheme against? You no longer have a chance. Surrender. Lin Jun was also disappointed. He didn't expect the primordial realm's treasure to be so powerful. He had no way of breaking it now. His main body was in the space, and he couldn't even feel the space vibrations. It was obvious how sturdy this treasure was. Seeing that the galactic beast Little Nuan was about to awaken, there was no hope of saving the main body. Lin Jun was so disappointed that the fire Qilin's eyes turned red. Lin Jun felt extremely annoyed when he looked at these domain monarchs again. Hiss! With an angry roar, Lin Jun suddenly turned back and pounced towards these domain monarchs. He wanted to kill one to break even and kill two to make a profit. Lin Jun is here. Everyone attack. The domain monarchs were naturally not easy to deal with. They all used their techniques and charged towards Lin Jun. Among these 30 people, there were a few peak domain monarchs. Although Lin Jun had advanced to the domain monarch level, Xiaonuan was about to awaken, and his combat power couldn't be fully unleashed. He actually couldn't gain the upper hand against these 30 people. Even so, the 30 domain monarchs couldn't gain any advantage. Lin Jun's Starry River Beast body was too strong, and their normal attacks were ineffective. It was like an invulnerable giant. Seeing the stalemate, domain monarch Lingshu couldn't hold back anymore and leaped up. Lin Jun, it's over. Domain monarchs will always be domain monarchs. Today, I'll show you the power of a domain monarch. A surge of star power rose from his body. Although Spirit Void wasn't a powerhouse among the world kings, the aura he exuded was enough to crush anyone present. This was the power of a domain monarch. The star power on his body was as bright as the sun. Lingshu pounced towards Lin Jun from afar. Lin Jun originally wanted to fight with the domain monarch, but in his mind, Xiaonuan was about to awaken, and he already couldn't control his actions. Oh no, there's danger. Lin Jun's limbs were a little stiff. Looking at Ling Shu pouncing towards him from afar, he thought to himself, "Oh no, this attack from a domain monarch was enough to take Lin Zhen's life. Could it be that after 1,000 years of reincarnation and 1,000 years of rebirth, I still have to end up in such a miserable state?" At this moment, Lin Zhen realized that it had already been 1,000 years since his rebirth. Chapter 608. In front of him, there was sword light and killing intent. This was a life and death situation. Lin Zhen could not kill these 30 kais, but with his fighting will and strength, he could suppress Xiao and Wan's awakening. He would not let these 30 domain monarchs gain any advantage. The spirit void world king's expression became more and more ugly. Today's heavenly gates gave people a bad feeling. Although it was embarrassing for a kais and 30 domain monarchs to deal with a galactic beast that had just entered the domain monarch stage, he could not care less. Clang! A bright sword light tore through the void and instantly appeared in front of Lin Zhen. Supreme grade celestial artifact. This was the strongest weapon that could appear in the new territories, and almost all of its owners were kais. Only one supreme-grade celestial artifact could be nurtured in a kais world. This was also the strongest weapon of a kais, and it was not for sale. Lin Zhen raised the edge spear and took the Spirit Void World King's attack head-on. The immense power almost caused Lin Zhen's body to collapse. No matter how talented he was, this was still a clone after all, and the clone was somewhat out of control. Furthermore, the power of a World King was not something that a domain monarch could withstand. His body flew backward, and blood spurted from his mouth. "I can't take it anymore. I can't hold on anymore. Even with the combined power of 30 domain monarchs, I can't break the mirror space. This mirror space is unshakable to me, no matter how great my potential is. Furthermore, I'm not a match for this kais." Lin Zhen had an unyielding aura in his heart. He was not convinced, but he did not have the power to do so. His body fell back, and he looked at the starry sky. But his thoughts had returned to 1,000 years ago. 1,000 years ago, Lin Zhen was just a small Star Realm warrior. Not to mention the heavenly gates, where the elites of the entire universe gathered. He was not even ranked in the Fire Qilin or the Sanjiang Federation. Even in the Sky River Empire, in the Milky Way, he was just an insignificant person who struggled to survive. At that time, his greatest wish was to reach the meteor stage and extend his life by a few hundred years. If one were to calculate the time, the meteor stage would be about 1,000 years ago today. On that day, Lin Zhen failed because he was also a weakling in the Star Realm. He didn't have the strength to break through to the meteor realm. Now, however, he could break through naturally when his star power reached the brimming point. He could still clearly remember the changes in the sky when he failed to break through to the meteor stage and thought that he would die after a few days. The starry skies split open and a point appeared. Endless energy storms surged within, and heavenly tides roared as a black hole was born. After the black hole was born, Lin Zhen didn't know if everything around him was swallowed up. What he knew was that his physical body was destroyed immediately, and then his soul passed through the black hole. After experiencing countless disasters, he was reborn. He could still remember the location of the black hole. It was also in the Sky River Empire, not far from the Sagittarius constellation. In the sky before him, wine-red nebulas were tumbling. Today's celestial phenomenon was a little abnormal. In a trance, Lin Zhen saw a star. It was a strange-looking star. Any bright star that can be seen with the naked eye is a star, unless it's a star like the moon that reflects the light of the sun. The star that Lin Zhen saw wasn't bright, but Lin Zhen felt that it seemed to be getting bigger and bigger. Did a supernova explode? Stars also have a day of destruction, and the universe also has a day of death. I have experienced rebirth, and I know that sometimes life is just a reincarnation. It's not terrible to die. After thousands of years of rebirth, I cultivated to the peak of the black hole realm and spent many beautiful days with my family. I have no regrets. All of this is what I earned. Even if I die at this moment, my life is not in vain. So as long as I can still move, I will fight, even if he is a realm king. When Lin Jun burned his star power and stood up again, the spirit void realm king on the opposite side was also moved. What a strong will to fight. Only such a person can go further. He held the saber in his hand horizontally. Lin Jun, although your realm is not high, I admire you. You are a real genius, but unfortunately, you are my enemy. No matter how hard you work, you can't bridge the huge gap in strength. Today, let me send you on your way. Lin Jun propped up his battered body and stood up, completely ignoring the wounds on his body. He knew that this might be his last attack. I, Lin Jun, have killed many people, but I have never known what it feels like to kill a realm king. You are called Spirit Void, right? Maybe you will be the first realm king I kill. You are dreaming. Ridiculous. Spirit Void's voice was very loud, but there was a trace of fear in his heart. Lin Jun in front of him was a huge fire Qilin, but his killing intent and star power had risen to the extreme. He even had a feeling that if he didn't handle it well, he might really be hurt by him. He had to eliminate the root of the problem. Immediately, without any further delay, Ling Shu roared, "Go!" The surrounding 30 realm kings swarmed towards Lin Jun from all angles. He didn't retreat, and a supreme grade heaven artifact saber appeared, aiming straight for Lin Jun's heart. Hiss! Heaven burning flames. The dark green flames around Lin Jun cracked again. This time, he didn't hold back at all. The firepower that belonged to the fire Qilin and the phoenix were all released to the extreme at this moment. The powerful fireball lit up the entire heavenly gate. The 30 realm kings were all blocked by the fireball, and no one could break through the blockade of the fireball to get close to Lin Jun. And Lin Jun decisively teleported at this moment. His target was the realm king of Spirit Void. Spirit Void roared, "You dare to use teleportation in front of me? Displaying your slight skill in front of an expert." Interrupt. A ray of mental energy shot towards Lin Jun like a sharp arrow. Lin Jun suddenly sneered, and the teleportation that he was about to use suddenly stopped. Mental evil spirit attack. The two rays of mental energy met in the air. The Spirit Void Realm King's mental energy was 99% of the green glow level. This mental energy was exactly the same as Lin Jun's. It had not reached the green glow level, but it was enough to block Lin Jun's teleportation. But he didn't expect that Lin Jun's teleportation was just a cover. The mental energy of the two collided head-on. This was something that rarely happened in battle. At the same time, he had a splitting headache. The Spirit Void Realm King jerked his head back and recovered in less than a second. But just as he recovered, he saw that Lin Jun had already rushed in front of him. This meant that in terms of pain, he was much worse than Lin Jun. There was no time to investigate why Lin Jun was able to resist the pain. He didn't even have time to attack before Lin Jun pounced on him. The Fire Qilin's huge body pushed the Spirit Void Realm King to the ground, and it opened its bloody mouth to bite him. "Beast, die for me." The Spirit Void Realm King was not a weakling. Although he was shocked, he did not panic. He raised his hand, and a stream of light hit Lin Jun's head. At the same time, he waved his long blade and slashed at Lin Jun's front claws. Mental evil spirit all. Unexpectedly, he miscalculated again. Lin Jun's had approached, not to bite him, but to use the mental evil spirit all to attack his spiritual sea again. As if a steel needle had pierced his brain, the Spirit Void Realm King roared out in pain. "Lin Jun, even so, you can forget about killing a Realm King. Is that so? I want to try." A dazzling light bloomed in the crowd, like the precursor of a supernova explosion. Lin Jun was the core of the supernova. All the star power was released from his body. He was going to self-destruct. The difference in strength was too great. He was not Spirit Void's opponent. The only way to kill him was to self-destruct. At the critical moment of life and death, Lin Jun made a series of strange moves and finally succeeded in approaching Spirit Void. He wanted to use the last of his strength to perish together with Spirit Void. If he didn't kill Spirit Void, his family would not be safe in the new territories. At this time, the only one who could threaten the lives of Lin Jun's family was a world king powerhouse. Therefore, Lin Jun had to do this. Teacher, no. The surrounding domain kings were blocked by the burning heaven flame and couldn't get close to the battle area. They could only watch from afar. Seeing Lin Jun about to self-destruct, they were shocked. Was a 7th-level world king going to be killed by a new domain king galactic beast? No one would believe such a thing if he told them about it. Lin Jun, don't push me too far. Ha ha ha. You're forcing me to do this. The spirit void world king spat out a mouthful of blood. He had been hit by the evil spirit all and had paused for a moment. Not only was Lin Jun about to self-destruct, but he was also hugging him. He couldn't escape, but he still had one last move. Seeing Lin Jun about to self-destruct, his expression changed several times. A powerful world force rose from his body. In the next moment, Lin Jun and himself appeared in his world. Lin Jun, my inner world is me, and there is no distinction between the two. The strength of the world can protect me. If you blow yourself up, the most you can do is blow up my inner world and cause my boundary to fall from the World King realm to the Star realm. This old man has already lived for 10,000 years, so I don't care about that at all. As for you, you'll be turned to ashes. Your avatar will die a miserable death, and your true body will wander in the eternal darkness. Lin Jun didn't expect him to have such a move. This should be the World King's life-saving move. But Lin Jun had no way out at this moment. Once he knocked down the Spirit Void World King's realm, his mission would be completed. Star Force surged, and he was about to launch the final attack. At this time, at the Heaven Gate, the starry sky suddenly darkened. The people who were still paying attention to the life and death battle between Lin Jun and the Spirit Void World King couldn't help but raise their heads and look at the sky. In the distant starry sky, a dark and deep point appeared in everyone's vision. An incomparably terrifying aura filled the heavens and earth. Within a few light years, all life forms couldn't help but tremble. Chapter 609. Legend had it that there was a trap in the universe. Once encountered, no one could avoid it. That was a black hole. Black holes did not appear out of thin air for no reason. Usually, when a planet exploded, it caused the void to collapse and matter to be extremely compressed. Once the compressed energy gathered to form a point, which was a naked singularity, a black hole would appear. Black holes were actually very small, but their density was unbelievably high. For example, once a planet like Earth evolved into a black hole, its diameter would only be 1 centimeter. The Sun, which was countless times larger than Earth, evolved into a black hole with a diameter of 3 kilometers. However, Earth would not evolve into a black hole because it was not qualified to become one. To evolve into a black hole, a star had to explode first before it could evolve into the most basic stellar-level black hole. In fact, during the Gong Yuan era on Earth, there were records of black holes. Furthermore, it was in the Sagittarius constellation called Sagittarius A. And today, this black hole appeared in the Sagittarius constellation. It could be said that the Sagittarius constellation was a place with a high number of black holes. When a black hole appeared, everything within its field of vision would not be able to escape, including light. All the laws of physics would be invalid here. Therefore, in theory, as long as one's speed did not exceed the speed of light, one would not be able to escape the huge gravitational force of a black hole. In order to make a black hole disappear, one had to wait for all the energy of the black hole to be automatically exhausted and become a powerless white hole. When that happened, the black hole would completely disappear. However, this was all theoretical knowledge that was of no help to the current situation. When the black hole appeared at the top of the sky, almost everyone was in despair. Although the naked singularity had not truly turned into a black hole, it would appear in a minute. Ling Xiu, who had a stern and fearless look a moment ago, suddenly widened his eyes. No one would want to die if they could live for one more day. Lin Jun did not continue his self-destruction. Instead, he stopped because there was no need to self-destruct now. These people had nowhere to run. However, just as Lin Jun stopped, Ling Xiu suddenly exploded. He broke free from Lin Jun's restraint and rushed into the distance. It was not just him. Everyone was like a swarm of wasps that had been blown up. They frantically fled in all directions. In the blink of an eye, the millions of people in Heavenly Gate were wiped out. Only Lin Jun did not move. He remained where he was, looking at the black hole in the sky. What was meant to come would eventually come. The scene in front of him was so familiar. It was a memory that had already entered the depths of his soul and could never be erased. That's it. It was this black hole. It was it that allowed Lin Jun to be reborn. After 1,000 years, it had reappeared. Lin Jun had originally thought that he would be terrified and trembling. However, when it really came down to it, his heart was completely empty. He didn't run away. Instead, he sat cross-legged in the void, quietly waiting for the black hole to appear and descend. Because he had been waiting for this day for far too long. The Ethereal World King was a 9th-level World King. His strength was considered high amongst all World Kings. However, he was an extremely cautious person. When he failed to break through the Heavenly Gate the first time, he did not attempt it a second time. He even disguised himself as a Nebula Stage martialist and blended into the crowd to train silently. In the universe, there was never a lack of patience and perseverance. The Ethereal World King had been training here for a full 960 years. During this time, he had been humiliated, ridiculed, and even beaten by other Nebula Stage martialists. However, he did not move, nor did he fight back. In his opinion, nothing was more important than his cultivation. Those were just worldly possessions that were dispensable. It was better if he did not have them. After more than 900 years of training, he had finally reached the peak of the World King realm. Even though he had more than 90% confidence, he still did not attempt to break through the Heavenly Gate again. What he wanted was to succeed the next time. Therefore, he had to increase his success rate to the maximum. Until today, when the black hole appeared. He was unwilling to be swallowed by the black hole. While everyone was frantically running away, he chose another path, and that was to pass through the Heavenly Gate. In his opinion, the other martialists were scared silly. So what if they ran to other places? The black hole was something that could even swallow light. No matter how fast you were, could you be faster than light? The black hole would probably appear in a few dozen seconds. In such a short time, it was not even enough for the spaceship to accelerate to a parallel universe. Running was useless. The only way was to quickly pass through the Heavenly Gate. No matter how strong the black hole was, it would only appear in the new territories. As long as he escaped into the primordial realm, he believed that the black hole would not be able to harm him. Therefore, he was extremely calm. He directly teleported to the Heavenly Gate and rushed through it in a spurt of energy. Spirit Void, for so many years, I have not even exposed my identity as the World King. I made you think that you were still the #1 expert in the Heavenly Gate. In fact, the #1 expert is me. It's just that I keep a low profile. Passing through the Heavenly Gate is the real thing. Everything else is fake. Take those useless trash and run away. The only person who can escape the black hole is me. The biting cold astral wind fell from the sky, but it could not stop the Ethereal World King's footsteps. He had prepared for this day for too long. He had even carefully calculated the time to pass through the Heavenly Gate. He only needed 50 seconds to pass through the Heavenly Gate. Black hole, oh black hole, you only need to give me 50 seconds. After that, you can do whatever you want in the new territories. He flew rapidly and rose rapidly. Soon, more than 40 seconds had passed. He had already rushed over 900,000 kilometers, and the top of the Heavenly Gate was right in front of him. At this time, he was finally relieved. However, his reluctance to leave the new territories made him want to take another look at the new territories. Otherwise, once he went to the primordial realm, he was afraid that he would never have the chance to see the new territories again. The Ethereal World King had stayed here for thousands of years, so he still had a lot of feelings for it. Anyway, turning back once would not affect his speed, so he turned back. In the distant sky, a black hole had already formed. The naked singularity was formed, and the black hole appeared. A ripple at the speed of light rapidly expanded outward. That was the gravitational range of the black hole. The Ethereal World King was not in a hurry. Even if it was really swallowed, He would definitely not be the first because he ran the fastest and furthest. But in the next moment, just as the heavenly gate was close at hand, an irresistible force enveloped him. Ah, why me? The ethereal world king only had time to say this sentence before his entire body was instantly pulled into the black hole. A dignified level 9 world king actually did not have the slightest bit of resistance when facing the black hole. The ethereal world king who ran the furthest and fastest, a powerhouse who had hidden for thousands of years, was dead. Following the fall of the ethereal world king, the second person to die appeared. Following a scream, a domain king who was besieging Linjun with Linjun was directly pulled back from afar and instantly entered the boundless black hole. Compared to the ethereal world king, this level 9 world king had also run far enough. However, the difference between him and the ethereal world king was less than 1,000th of a second before they were both swallowed by the black hole. Then it was the other domain kings who had already run so far that their shadows could not be seen. Each of them screamed and turned into streams of light that entered the black hole. They had no resistance at all. They did not understand. They did not understand. Why was it that when they ran for their lives, this was the outcome in the end? The unstoppable black ripples of death spread out in circles. People could not see it, but they could clearly feel its existence. Everything within the black ripples was like water flowing into a whirlpool, disappearing in the black void in an instant. Linjun's body was also within the ripples, but the speed at which he entered the black hole was very slow. Others did not know the secret of the black hole, but Linjun did. Because Linjun's original body was a black hole beast, he had never heard of the black hole after so many years of research. Linjun knew what to do when facing a black hole. Light could not escape, so what was the use of people escaping? Moreover, the black hole reversed the laws of physics because light could not escape. The faster you left, the faster you would be pulled into the black hole. Therefore, the only way to let you live a little longer was to not move. If you did not move, you would be moved even slower. Therefore, Linjun did not move. When a martial artist entered the black hole one after another like dumplings, his speed was the slowest. Oh no, there was still someone slower than Linjun. That was the Spirit Void Realm King. Linjun also saw the Spirit Void Realm King from the corner of his eye. The Spirit Void Realm King did not go far. The place where he was hiding was actually under the mirror space where Linjun's original body was. In that position, there was a treasure from the Yuan realm blocking it. The power of the black hole was actually weakened. The treasure of the Yuan realm was resisting the pulling power of the black hole, and it could actually do so. The Spirit Void Realm King hiding behind it was much more relaxed. Although he ran a little before, now it seemed that he could live longer than Linjun. Seeing Linjun's gaze, the Spirit Void Realm King laughed. Linjun, don't think that you're the only one who is knowledgeable. I have also studied the black hole. This black hole is a newborn stellar black hole, and its power is not very strong. With so many martial artists, each of them has the ability to destroy a planet. Under the full resistance of their stellar power, the energy of the black hole will be quickly consumed. Maybe when all these people die, the black hole will turn into a white hole, and I will be able to escape this calamity. Linjun looked at the Spirit Void Realm King. He had to admire this person's calculation ability and knowledge. He even studied the characteristics of the black hole. Spirit Void continued, and it seems that I will live longer than you. Little friend, remember that treasures can also be used this way. This is not like when you were an ordinary person, when your mother or teacher told you not to stand under a tree when there was thunder. In front of a black hole, you should find a safe place, ha. Linjun looked at the complacent Spirit Void in front of him, and suddenly a smile appeared on his face. Spirit Void, aren't you being complacent too early? What do you mean? Raise your head and look at the mirror space from the Yuan realm. See if that thing is about to collapse. Spirit Void looked up in horror and saw that the mirror space above his head had already begun to tremble violently. Under the powerful pulling power of the black hole, the treasure from the Yuan realm could not hold on any longer. Layers of fine network patterns were appearing on it. Not good. It's going to be destroyed. Gotcha. A bolt from a blue. The treasure was torn apart and instantly turned into scrap. It entered the black hole and turned into dust. In the void, the figure of a healthy and handsome man suddenly appeared. That was Lin Jun's original body. He had escaped. Chapter 610. When Lin Jun's main body appeared, Spirit Void was stunned for a moment. Then he sneered, "What a good plan. You were actually able to use the power of the black hole to break through the mirror dimension. But Lin Jun, you've miscalculated. Your main body has been trapped in the mirror dimension for 700 years, and your strength hasn't improved at all. Now, you're nothing more than a peak black hole. Even if you manage to escape, what can you do?" Lin Jun sneered. "That's not necessarily true. How stubborn. Then let's see who falls into this endless black hole first." After the martial artists at the beginning were swallowed up by the black hole, the later martial artists also gradually discovered a way out. This black hole defied the laws of physics. The more one tried to escape, the faster they would be swallowed up. Thus, the martial artists all stopped moving, tried to hold on for as long as they could. Although this wouldn't last for too long. As more and more martial artists were swallowed up by the black hole, they would use all of their strength to struggle and resist before they died. This newly formed black hole wasn't limitless in strength. After the martial artists resisted with all their strength began to weaken. This gave people endless hope. As long as they could delay until the end, they might be able to escape this fatal calamity. As a breath of fresh air entered his stomach, Lin Jun felt his entire body relax. 700 years. There was a legend on Earth. Sun Wukong had been suppressed under 5-element mountain for 500 years. As for Lin Jun, he had been trapped for 700 years. What finally saved him was the black hole that he had been reborn in. But just as Lin Jun emerged, he felt a powerful suction force from the black hole. Now was not the time to celebrate his escape. He had to deal with the great crisis in front of him. Lin Jun's understanding of the black hole far surpassed others. He immediately sat down in the void. He was the last to appear. As long as he didn't move, the black hole would likely swallow him. At that time, the black hole might disappear. But just as Lin Jun appeared, an attack came flying towards him. The Spirit Void World King had attacked. As this person saw Lin Jun's main body appear, he immediately realized that he couldn't allow Lin Jun to survive. Thus, he decisively attacked. The attack of a World King powerhouse was far too strong. Lin Jun's strength was only at the black hole realm. He simply wasn't able to resist it. At the critical moment, Lin Jun's clone suddenly appeared out of thin air and forcefully received this attack. With his powerful domain monarch strength, he could still resist for a while. However, at this moment, he was forcefully suppressing Xiao Wan's awakening. After receiving this attack, the doppelganger let out a muffled groan. The injury to his body was a small matter, but he could no longer suppress Xiao Wan's power. Xiao Wan was about to awaken. The awakening of Xiao Wan meant that Lin Jun's doppelganger had come to an end. After losing his body, his consciousness could no longer exist alone. Ha! Lin Jun, you're finished. This time, it's your clone. Next time, it'll be your real body. The Spirit Void World King shook a few times in the air. Attacking Lin Jun just now made him accelerate towards the black hole. Lin Jun wasn't depressed because of this. Even if the doppelganger died, he couldn't sacrifice it in vain. At the very least, Lin Jun had to take back the 60,000 star power that the doppelganger possessed. Star power transfer. Just as the doppelganger's consciousness was about to disappear, Lin Jun decisively used star power transfer. The 60,000 star power of the doppelganger was immediately injected into Lin Jun's main body. After the star power was injected into the main body, the doppelganger's consciousness immediately dissipated. The star power lost its way back and would forever stay in Lin Jun's main body, becoming the power of the main body. The main body had 120,000 star power. After the doppelganger's power was injected, it immediately soared to 180,000. The Spirit Void World King frowned. You have a lot of tricks up your sleeves, but these are all trivial tricks. Lin Jun, you're still going to die. After all, your opponent is a world king that you can't resist at all. In front of absolute strength, all small tricks are useless. After that, the Spirit Void World King raised his hand and the second attack arrived. With the existence of the black hole, he didn't dare to take out his weapon. He could only attack with his bare hands. Although the power was much smaller, it should be enough to deal with Lin Jun. Although Xiaonuan had just regained consciousness, seeing that Lin Jun was in danger, he still blocked it immediately. A mass of starlight exploded in the air. Xiaonuan screamed. In his seriously injured state, he couldn't resist the attack of the World King. His body spun and fell into the black hole. However, Xiaonuan's attack gave Lin Jun a chance to fight back. His star power soared to 180,000. Although it wasn't comparable to a World King, it was comparable to an ordinary low-level domain king. Lin Jun immediately gave the Spirit Void World King a full blow. Space slash. Countless spatial cracks whizzed out and surged towards the Spirit Void Realm one after another. Normally, this kind of space slash wouldn't be able to do anything to the Spirit Void, and he could easily dodge it. However, at this time, dodging meant that he had to speed up entering the black hole. However, things like space cracks were really not easy to resist. The Spirit Void World King dodged left and right, but his body slid uncontrollably towards the black hole. Lin Jun also sped up his entry into the black hole because of the attack, but at this moment, he couldn't care so much. Space slash blasted out in the most concentrated way. The two of them, one attacking and one dodging, both arrived in front of the black hole. In front of them was an endless dark vortex, which was the place that martial artists feared the most. Lin Jun, you are a King madman. The Spirit Void World King roared and attacked with his bare hands. This time, his target was not Lin Jun, but other martial artists. He wanted to use his attacks to send these martial artists into the bottomless abyss of the black hole. As long as these people fell in before him, he might be able to survive. The power of the World King was undoubtedly revealed at this moment. Whether it was the Nebula stage or the Star Domain stage, they couldn't resist his attacks. One by one, they fell into the black hole. The eruption of star power was only delayed for a moment before they were swallowed by the black hole. However, as more and more martial artists entered, the power of the black hole became weaker and weaker. There is hope. There is hope. The Spirit Void World King saw hope, and his attacks became more and more frenzied. The surrounding martial artists who were still struggling suffered and fell into the black hole like dumplings, consigned to eternal damnation. And Lin Jun's attacks did not stop. He continued to attack fiercely, not giving the Spirit Void World King any chance to breathe. Dark ripples flickered around them, and the energy storm struck. The two of them had already entered the black hole, and the Spirit Void World King also beat the last surviving martial artist into the abyss. Everything after that could only be decided by fate. The two of them spun and went straight into the depths of the black hole. The energy storm became more and more violent. In a few seconds, their bodies would be torn apart. Lin Jun stopped after another attack. He did not dare to use up all his star power. At this time, keeping some star power might be a great use. But the moment he paused, a figure suddenly flashed behind him. The Spirit Void World King appeared behind him. And at this moment, his main body was still a few hundred meters away from Lin Jun. This was his avatar. When the doppelganger appeared, it immediately gave Lin Jun a blow. Lin Jun, who was struggling to hold on, suddenly lost his balance and fell into the deepest part of the black hole with the Spirit Void World King's doppelganger, into the bottomless abyss. The avatar's star power surged and fought against the black hole with his strength. Just after the death of the Spirit Void World King's avatar, his expression suddenly relaxed, because he felt that the power of the black hole was exhausted. After this black hole swallowed millions of super experts, its energy was finally exhausted, and it was about to die. Sure enough, the Black Death ripples began to weaken, and his body stopped falling. between heaven and earth, except for the distant heavenly gate and the vanishing black hole. He was the only one left. Ha! Ah, ha, ha, ha! The Spirit Void World King let out a series of laughter. Great! I've finally escaped this calamity. I haven't released this doppelganger all this time, and it finally saved my life at the most critical moment. I didn't expect that because I survived this calamity, my realm actually loosened up and I have a new understanding of power. Perhaps if I cultivate for another 10 years, I can also ascend to the primordial realm. Waves of wild laughter. Spirit Void was too happy. He did not expect that he would have such an opportunity. After passing this test, he could look forward to immortality. Although there was no audience at the scene, he still could not help but want to shout and jump like a child. Otherwise, it was not enough to express his agitated mood. This was a man who was about to die, but suddenly found the door to immortality. This feeling was really crazy. He waited under the black hole that was about to disappear. When the black hole completely dissipated, he would be safe. Lin Jun's body fell into the black hole, but he did not die immediately as Spirit Void had imagined. In Lin Jun's mind, today's scene had been deduced hundreds of thousands of times. Since his rebirth, he knew that he would eventually have a day like this. His biggest enemy was not others, but this black hole. So for this day, he had prepared for 1,000 years. When the energy storm struck, Lin Jun immediately launched his strongest move, the black hole storm. He was a black hole beast, and he could also evolve a black hole. A small black hole appeared outside Lin Jun's body. Although it cannot be compared to a real black hole that could swallow everything, it was the same as a real black hole. The only difference was that this black hole was rotating in reverse. The big black hole was encased in the small black hole, and the two black holes rotated opposite each other. This was the only way to survive in a black hole after many years of research by Lin Jun. At this moment, time and space were simultaneously distorted at the intersection of the two black holes. Rays of light turned into snakes in the air, and the energy began to attack without any target. The star power in his body finally came in handy. Lin Jun could finally resist this black hole that had consumed most of its power. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Black ripples flashed, and the black hole's naked singularity appeared in front of him. Lin Jun took a deep breath, and his expression was solemn. Chapter 611. The method Lin Jun came up with worked. It was extremely demanding for this method to work. If the power of the natural black hole was too strong, Lin Jun would not have any ability to resist and would probably be swallowed instantly. However, the actions of the Spirit Void Realm King had helped him. The power of the black hole had been consumed. At this point, Lin Jun could resist it. A black hole within a black hole. The two black holes would form a spiral, and the energy would intertwine in space without harming him. This method could help him quickly get close to the naked singularity. If he wanted the black hole to truly die, he had to completely stop the naked singularity. This way, the energy of the black hole would stop, and the black hole would turn into a white hole that would be covered by space again. What Lin Jun was going to do now was something that no one had ever done in space before. That was to devour the naked singularity. Lin Jun hadn't wasted the 700 years he had spent in the mirror dimension. Besides asking Chrissy to remind him not to fall asleep, he had also been thinking about what he should do if he encountered a black hole. After 700 years of no improvement, Lin Jun knew that the advantage he had in the past was probably gone. After entering the primordial realm, there was no doubt that black hole stage martialists would not be competitive. He still had to advance to the nebulous stage. At Lin Jun's current level, he only needed a thought to advance to the nebulous stage. However, he did not do so. He was waiting for an opportunity that would allow him to make a perfect breakthrough. That opportunity was now. He was going to break through. He needed to borrow the power of the black hole. When the hole within the hole formed, Lin Jun knew that his opportunity had come. Moving forward quickly, Lin Jun was already near the naked singularity. The naked singularity was a strange substance formed by the collapse of space after the explosion of a star. The specific manifestation of this substance was light that flowed like water. It also looked like a ball of flame that formed a light sphere with a diameter of a few kilometers. There were no laws here. The light distorted and flickered wantonly. All laws were invalid here. When the black hole was formed, the naked singularity had a diameter of 5 kilometers. After repeated consumption, the naked singularity was now less than 2 meters in diameter. Its height was about the same as Lin Jun's. The black hole was about to die, and the power of the naked singularity was rapidly declining. He took a few steps forward. Every step he took in the void would cause the light to change. Even the strongest sci-fi special effects could not create this scene. "I've waited for you for too long," Lin Jun's faint voice sounded. "For 1,000 years, I've been afraid of you all the time. I was afraid that all my efforts would go to waste because of your appearance. And I, Lin Jun, live by the creed of my life. Anything that threatens me must be destroyed. My clone and Xiaowan's death. You, with me, with you, with me, with you, with me, with you, with me, with you, you with you, with me, with me. Lin Jun, with the naked singularity, with the naked singularity, with it, with him, with it, with him, with him, with it, with him, with him, with it, with him, with him." Lin Jun's long hair danced in the wind amidst the swirling light. The colorful light illuminated his face, making him look ferocious. "In return for threatening me for the past 1,000 years, I've decided to eat you." Roar. When he finished speaking, a roar came from Lin Jun's throat. It shook the heavens and the earth. The next moment his body shook, and he transformed into a huge black hole beast. This black hole beast had yet to reach the peak of its infant stage. It looked like a half-human, half-beast. However, its huge and ferocious head, black scales, and endless beastly aura were enough to make one tremble in fear. After Lin Jun appeared, he shook his head and opened his bloody mouth. He swallowed the naked singularity that had shrunk to the size of a basketball. The black hole that enveloped Lin Jun immediately started to collapse. Energy turbulence surged in the wine-red nebula, as if the end of the world had arrived. Lin Jun had swallowed a black hole. However, this black hole was not that delicious. Even though it was a black hole that was about to die, the energy contained within it was beyond imagination. The huge amount of energy entered Lin Jun's body, and it almost burst his dantian. With a thought from Lin Jun, the black hole in his dantian appeared again and started to absorb the power of the black hole. Since the death ripples had lost the support of the naked singularity, they started to fuse into Lin Jun's black hole under Lin Jun's guidance. However, the other powers in the black hole were still there. It would not be easy for Lin Jun to completely digest them. Lin Jun raised his head and let out a furious roar. The scales on his body shone even brighter, and a powerful wave of star energy burst forth from every pore on his body. After fusing with the death ripples, the black hole in his body shrank rapidly. The foreign naked singularity fused with the naked singularity in Lin Jun's black hole. After the two fused, the naked singularity swelled a few times, and the star power instantly soared. The black hole in his body spun rapidly and was released. When the peak of the black hole broke through to the nebulous stage, the black hole would collapse into a white hole and evolve into a nebula. Lin Jun knew that it was time for him to break through, and he was ready to break through. However, the power of the black hole did not disappear completely as he had expected. After the new naked singularity entered his body, the star power started to spread. Rumbling sounds came from his body. The black hole that belonged to every black hole stage martialist dissipated. However, the new naked singularity became the center of Lin Jun's dantian once again. Apart from this, nothing else was different. The world in his dantian began to change dramatically. The dissipated power of the black hole started to attack the inner walls of his dantian. Waves of star power washed his dantian, and bright stars started to be born in his dantian, flickering. Every star that was born was a new source of star power. Generally speaking, when a martialist advanced from the black hole stage to the nebula stage, a small nebula would form in their body. It would be as big as the solar system. Of course, that was the weakest nebula stage. Those who were slightly stronger would have 3 or 4 stars, or even 7 or 8 stars. This was the difference in strength between martialists of the same level. The increase in Lin Jun's star power had obviously far exceeded this concept. His dantian expanded crazily. The 180,000 star power in his body, coupled with the external power of the black hole, made his nebula grow rapidly. When it just started to take shape, there were already more than 100 stars. The star power of one star represented 1,000. His star power exceeded 100,000 in an instant. Of course, this was far from the end. Just like when night fell and the lights in the city quickly lit up, stars appeared one after another, forming a starry sky in his dantian. Level 1 nebula, 360 stars. His astral power had doubled from 180,000 to 360,000. Moreover, this was not the end. After he swallowed the power of the black hole, the star power in his body increased explosively. Breaking through to Level 2 nebula did not stop at all. Level 2 nebula, 400,000 star power. Level 2 nebula was still not the end. The power in his dantian was still abundant and continued to expand. From afar, Lin Jun looked like a glowing object. Every pore on his body was emitting starlight. He looked like a supernova that was about to explode. Continue to break through. Continue to break through. My power burn. As the star power continued to soar, Lin Jun's black hole beast body also underwent huge changes. It started to grow from its infancy stage. As long as he could reach Level 9 nebula, this black hole beast would reach the peak of its infancy stage. Of course, Lin Jun could not reach Level 9 nebula in one go. However, reaching Level 3 nebula was definitely not a problem. The rumbling star power continued to soar, rising from 400,000 to 460,000. Level 3 nebula. Streams of star power continued to cleanse his dantian. After so many years of accumulation, it finally brought about a blowout effect. Level 3 was not over yet. Although the increase in power was a little slow, it was not over yet. As the black hole's power was fully absorbed, the stars in Lin Jun's body continued to light up one by one. It had already exceeded 500 stars. When the power was finally exhausted, 520 stars lit up in Lin Jun's body. It looked like a bright starry sky. His cultivation level was fixed at Level 4 nebula. His body's star power, excluding the dark star, had reached 520,000. Lin Jun still had the new generation's peak dark star, Moon Stallion, and Mars, 2 real stars. These gave him a total of 150,000 star power. With these two added together, Lin Jun's final star power had reached 670,000. After the star power stopped increasing, Lin Jun's mind power scanned his dantian. In his dantian, a black hole vortex formed the center of the galaxy. It was surrounded by a starry sky. This was obviously different from the other martialists he knew. Other martialists only had a starry sky in their bodies. There was no black hole. Of course, this black hole was unique to the black hole beast. It was Lin Jun's special ability. Lin Jun could clearly feel the naked singularity in the black hole. He could feel the power of this black hole. The dark star and the star power of his body complemented each other, forming a huge star power cycle. At this point, Lin Jun did not know what kind of nebula stage martialist could compete with him. At least in the new territories, any nebula stage martialist was trash in front of him. Even the vast majority of domain monarchs were trash in Lin Jun's eyes. Perhaps he could only go to the primordial realm to find an opponent. At this point, Lin Jun was extremely excited. After 1,000 years, this life and death calamity had finally been successfully resolved. He had survived it. Not only had he survived it, but Lin Jun had also soared and reached Level 4 nebula stage. With 670,000 star power, Lin Jun's aura was unstoppable. The spirit void, domain monarch outside, was indeed a strong martialist. However, at this moment, Lin Jun had no fear at all. He was doomed. Chapter 612. Lingshu didn't see the scene of Lin Jun's breakthrough. Previously, there were energy turbulences everywhere, so he couldn't see what was happening in the depths of the black hole. When the energy turbulence completely dissipated, he saw a strange scene. A black Chelan-like galactic beast was baring its fangs and brandishing its claws in the air. This Chelan was stronger and more powerful than the fire Chelan from before, although it hadn't reached the Domain King level. The surging star power on its body shocked Lingshu. "Are you a fire Chelan or not?" Lingshu roared. "You will never know." Lin Jun spread out his four hooves and pounced down from the sky. Death ripples flashed around his body and came crashing down like a mountain. Lingshu wasn't in a good state at the moment. The main reason was that he had consumed a lot of energy to fight against the black hole. However, he was a realm king after all. How could he be scared off by Lin Jun, a mere level for galactic beast? He roared, and a long saber appeared in his hand. Now that things had come to this, everything would be over as long as he killed Lin Jun completely. The supreme-grade celestial long saber tore through the void and slashed towards Lin Jun with a streak of starlight. As Lin Jun ran, his stomach contracted and released. He opened his bloody mouth, and a black hole appeared in the depths of his throat. When the naked singularity appeared, when the death ripples appeared, Lingshu's guts were torn apart. Why did the calamity that had just escaped from the black hole appear again? However, it was too late for him to dodge. The black hole completely enveloped him. "Ah!" Lingshu roared. His star power erupted to resist the black hole storm. He felt as though he was facing an ocean, and Lin Jun's star power was unbelievably strong. Furthermore, the black hole that Lin Jun had unleashed seemed to be a special ability. It didn't require much energy, but he had to expend twice as much energy to resist it. Facing the desperate resistance of the Spirit Void Sector King, Lin Jun's eyes were cold. He activated his 670,000 star power and launched a tide-like wave of attacks at the Spirit Void Sector King. With the Black Hole Storm talent, he didn't need to use much star power to launch an endless stream of attacks. If one were to calculate the data specifically, the power of Lin Jun's Black Hole Storm was doubled based on his own star power. In other words, Lin Jun's 670,000 stars could unleash a power of 1,340,000 stars under the influence of the Black Hole Storm. As long as the opponent's strength did not exceed this number, they would eventually die under Lin Jun's Black Hole Storm. After several consecutive confrontations, the Spirit Void Realm King could not hold on any longer. With his strength damaged, he could no longer resist Lin Jun's attacks. The surging Black Hole Storm swept over him, causing him to be unable to resist the gravitational pull. With a miserable scream, his body shrank as he fell into the depths of the black hole. His body began to shatter within the black hole, turning into the most basic matter within the black hole. During this process, Lingshu simply could not believe what had happened. He had lost. A solemn World King level master had actually lost to a Nebula Realm martial artist. Although there were many reasons for his loss, such as consuming too much star power before, or suspecting that the other party's supernatural power was a trick, a loss was a loss. After failing once, there was no chance to start again. Previously, he had dreamed of breaking through the heavenly gate and entering the primordial realm. But in the blink of an eye, he had lost his life. The Spirit Void Realm King was unwilling. His soul was not destroyed and floated into the black hole created by Lin Jun. A trace of obsession and hatred made him thirst for revenge. But his soul was not destroyed and was soon discovered by Lin Jun. Lin Jun coldly snorted. He didn't expect the other party's hatred to be so strong. But in front of him now, a mere soul was nothing more than a clay chicken and pottery dog, unable to withstand a single blow. He was about to mobilize his mental power to completely disperse Lingshu's soul when suddenly, a red shadow rushed out from the depths of the black hole. It was Xiaowan. Xiaowan, who was thought to be dead, was actually lurking in the depths of the black hole. Xiaowan was not truly dead. It was connected to Lin Jun by blood, so it had a deep understanding of the black hole. After entering the black hole, it followed the trajectory of the black hole. Although it was seriously injured, It finally lurked near the naked singularity. Lin Jun swallowed the black hole and stored it in his dantian. Xiaowan also entered Lin Jun's body, and its main injury was not on the body, but on the soul. It took nearly 1,000 years to return to its main body, so its soul was not lightly injured. It would have taken a long time to recover, but now that the Spirit Void Realm King's soul had entered, it had given it a great opportunity to recover. Natural Devour. A red airflow enveloped the Spirit Void Realm King. The pitiful Spirit Void Realm King, whose obsession had preserved his soul, had become the fire Qilin snack. At this point, Ling Xu's body and soul were truly destroyed, with no possibility of resurrection. After swallowing Ling Xu's soul, Xiaowan shook its body a few times. Then, it spun around and jumped out of the black hole, turning back into a huge fire Qilin. Lin Jun squatted down. He was now a huge black hole beast, but he still retained some human characteristics. Only when he reached the domain monarch realm could he completely transform into a black hole beast. The two Qilins looked at each other. Xiaowan opened its mouth and spoke in human language. Master, I haven't seen you in a long time. Xiaowan, you could speak? Lin Jun was very surprised. Xiaowan cracked open its mouth and laughed. Its body rolled, and it suddenly stood up. Under Lin Jun's shocked gaze, it turned into a person. It was a boy who looked to be 15 or 16 years old. He had big bright eyes and a head of smooth fiery red hair. He was not very tall, but according to what Lin Jun knew from Earth, he was a top-grade Shota. You can actually turn into a human? Lin Jun looked at Xiaowan and felt that it was very strange. Master, galactic beasts can turn into humans after breaking through the black hole stage. However, I have always been in a deep sleep. Didn't you exist in human form when I was your clone? Lin Jun nodded his head. He had asked a stupid question. Galactic beasts could transform into both human and beast forms. This was a very normal thing. However, he was a little surprised to see Xiaowan's appearance for the first time. Lin Jun also changed back to his original appearance. Lin Jun was slightly taller, and Xiaowan was half a head shorter. Standing beside Lin Jun, it looked like a little brother. Xiaowan, you are now a domain monarch. Yes, a first-level domain monarch. I still have to thank Master for helping me advance. Otherwise, if I relied on my own cultivation, I would at most be at the nebulous stage. Xiaowan, don't call me Master in the future. You and I are connected by blood. You can call me Big Brother in the future. Okay, Big Brother Lin Jun. Lin Jun smiled and patted Xiaowan's head. He could clearly feel Xiaowan's powerful star power. Xiaowan's star power was not weaker than Lin Jun's. After all, it was a super-galactic beast domain monarch. Moreover, Lin Jun had cultivated Xiaowan's flame to a dark green color. This allowed Xiaowan's power to multiply. To be precise, Xiaowan's star power was about 700,000. It was even slightly higher than Lin Jun's. Of course, in a battle of life and death, Lin Jun's black hole storm was a killer weapon. 1 million star power was still no match for Lin Jun. Xiaowan raised his hand, and the boundary spear appeared in his hand. Big Brother, I like this weapon. It's very handy. Now, the yin-yang boundary spears were both superior-grade celestial weapons. They were very powerful. Lin Jun also raised his hand and took the Spirit Void Domain Monarch's longsword. It was a supreme-grade celestial weapon, the best weapon in the new territories. Unfortunately, when it swallowed him, there was nothing good in the ring. Spirit Void's internal world had collapsed in the black hole. It did not leave Lin Jun a single universe crystal. Xiaowan, now that you've become a human, you should have an intelligent life to accompany you. I'll give you an identity. Okay. Lin Jun was the Duke of the Fire Qilin Empire. He had the right to give out identity cards. According to the Empire's laws, he could give out the identity of a noble. Of course, he was going to the Yuan realm. It did not matter if he was a noble or not. He gave Xiaowan the identity of a baron. From then on, Xiaowan, who had been with Lin Jun since he was young, finally had an identity that belonged to him. Lin Wan. This was the name that Lin Jun gave him. When Lin Jun asked him what his surname was, he said that he was Lin Wan. Lin Jun was speechless. He could only give him an identity based on this name. Xiaonuan, can you pass the divine gate in your current state? After killing Spirit Void, the entire divine gate was empty. There was no one else. Lin Jun was also thinking about going to the Yuan realm. Should be a little short. As a domain monarch, you need at least 1,000,000 stars to pass the divine gate. So, only those level 8 and level 9 domain monarchs have hope. As for me, I should be able to do it after cultivating for 10 more years. Lin Jun knew that Xiaonuan's star power had exceeded 700,000. After cultivating for a few more years, passing the divine gate would not be a problem. After all, every time a domain monarch leveled up, his star power would increase tremendously. Okay, then you can stay here and cultivate. This place can be infected with the Yuan realm's aura. Your cultivation speed will be faster. Okay, I'll stay here and not go anywhere. Add my family's universe number. If anything happens to them, you can go over and help. Lin Jun briefly talked to his family and told them that he was leaving. Now, his family's cultivation speed was also very fast. And Ning and Yuer had both reached the domain monarch level. But Lin Jun did not dare to let them go to the Yuan realm, because there were still many dangers in the Yuan realm, such as the Ku family and Fire Qilin's Elder Qin. If anything happened, Lin Jun could not take the risk. Brother, are you planning to leave now? Yes, it's about time. I can't wait any longer. Lin Jun did not tell Xiaonuan that the date he had agreed to with Little Phoenix was less than 30 years away. The Yuan realm was even more vast than the new territories. It would not be easy to find Little Phoenix there. There was also the matter of Ku Xiangnan replacing him as number 1. It was time to settle the score. Turning around, he looked back at the starry sky of the new territories. After leaving this time, he did not know when he would return. Chapter 613. Arriving at the Heavenly Gate, Lin Jun stood at the point of breaking through the Heavenly Gate. This was the 3rd time he was standing here. The first time he was trying. The second time he was sabotaged. Now he was standing here as a nebulous stage cultivator. Finally, no one would disturb him. Xiaonuan looked at Lin Jun from afar and waved goodbye to Lin Jun. Raising his head and taking a deep breath, Lin Jun rose from the ground. With 670,000 points of star power circulating, Lin Jun was like a rocket soaring into the sky. He was unstoppable. 500,000 kilometers, 700,000 kilometers, 900,000 kilometers, 1,000,000. The limit for breaking through the Heavenly Gate in the Black Hole stage was 100,000 points of star power, 300,000 points of star power in the Nebula stage, and 1,000,000 points of star power in the Star Domain stage. Lin Jun was now a level 4 nebula, so breaking through the Heavenly Gate was effortless. 1,000,000 kilometers passed in the blink of an eye. Light flashed before his eyes. Lin Jun saw the situation at the top of the Heavenly Gate for the first time. The Heavenly Gate was supported by the Pillar of Life. At the top, there was a cloud of material. Above the cloud, a golden door was wide open. A white-haired old man was sitting cross-legged in front of the door, smiling at Lin Jun. Lin Jun's body stopped and landed on the clouds. The surrounding spiritual energy was dense, making him feel relaxed and comfortable. Mr. Moonchaser. Lin Jun immediately cupped his fists and greeted Moonchaser. He had seen this person twice. He was the Heavenly Gate Guardian, a super expert of the Immortal stage. Lin Jun, you're here. Yes, I have to thank Great Moonchaser for suppressing Kuxianglong. You helped me vent my anger. Haha. As the Heavenly Gate Guardian, of course, I can't tolerate others breaking the rules. Lin Jun, I've seen everything in the new territories. You're here today because of your own hard work. It has nothing to do with anyone else. With that said, Moonchaser pointed behind him. Do you see the door behind me? This is the door to the primordial realm. The Pillar of Life will collapse after 1,000 years, and the door to the primordial realm will close. As for the Pillar of Life, it needs 10,000 years to grow. This is why the door to the primordial realm only opens once every 10,000 years. Then can I enter the primordial realm now? Hey, what's the hurry? You're penniless now, aren't you? Are you going to rob and rob when you reach the primordial realm? I have money. I have the various currencies and cosmos crystals. That's just the wishful thinking of you people from the new territories. The currency of the new territories is worthless in the primordial realm. Even universe crystals will depreciate greatly because the primordial realm has no lack of universe crystals, not even lacking in cosmos crystals. Isn't that something that only appears when the world is created? That's right, but don't forget that the primordial realm is in the shape of a sphere, and its borders are constantly expanding towards the new territories. This border is constantly producing countless cosmos crystals. You might have heard of the theory of the universe being infinitely large in the new territories. Linja nodded. He had indeed heard of it. This theory is due to the expansion of the primordial realm, which leads to the expansion of the new territories. That's why there's the theory of the universe being infinitely large. Lin Jun was enlightened. So that's what it was all about. Moreover, there are many world king powerhouses in the primordial realm, and their inner worlds are constantly producing cosmos crystals. Therefore, cosmos crystals can only be considered a material here, a consumable, and not used as currency. Then what's the currency of the primordial realm? It's this kind of thing. Saying that, Moonchaser raised his hand, and an object that resembled a copper coin appeared in his hand. This is a copper coin among the yuan coins. Every coin of the primordial realm has the aura imprint of the primordial realm. A copper coin is 1 yuan. Lin Jun took the copper coin and looked at it. Sure enough, the aura of the material was very different from the new territories. At least in the new territories, this thing could not be replicated. Above the copper coin, there are also silver coins, gold coins, crystal coins, and so on. I'll give this copper coin to you. Remember, you owe me 1 yuan. Lin Jun did not stand on ceremony and put the copper coin into his pocket. All right then, I'll keep this 1 yuan, lest I starve to death in the primordial realm. Ha ha! Then you can keep it. Under the heavenly gate, those world kings wantonly amass wealth and plunder a lot of cosmos crystals to bring to the primordial realm. However, they don't know that those things are not money in the primordial realm. Cosmos crystals can only be sold to wholesalers by the ton. It's unknown whether hundreds of billions of cosmos crystals can buy a house in the primordial realm. Ha ha! Moonchaser laughed heartily, but Lin Jun did not find it funny. In this way, wouldn't all the people in the new territories who were in the primordial realm become paupers? Moonchaser seemed to have seen through Lin Jun's thoughts. You're right. You're paupers. Furthermore, Lin Jun, you have to know that the martial power you possess now is nothing in the primordial realm. The biggest difference between the primordial realm and the new territories is that the gravity in the primordial realm is 10 times that of your average planet. In such an environment, the warriors of the primordial realm are constantly training themselves. Furthermore, the dark energy in the primordial realm is 10 times that of the new territories. Our cultivation speed is also 10 times faster than the warriors of the new territories. Therefore, the warriors of the primordial realm are generally 10 times stronger than the warriors of the new territories. Upon hearing this, Lin Jun was a little disapproving. The warriors of the primordial realm he had seen, such as Peacock, only had a star power of about 20,000. How could they be considered 10 times stronger than the warriors of the new territories? But when he raised this question, Moonchaser laughed. The person you're talking about isn't considered a big deal in the Yuan realm. Moreover, as far as I know, your average nebula level 9 probably only has 2,000 to 3,000 star powers. It is said that in your arena, a person with 20,000 star powers can rule a war zone. Lin Jun was speechless. Moonchaser was right. Furthermore, the true warriors of the primordial realm all have their own cultivation techniques. You've seen 2 of them. Who are they? Lin Jun asked. One is your competitor, Ku Xiangnan. The reason why he was able to cultivate to 100,000 star power in the black hole stage is because he obtained the primordial realm's cultivation techniques. Lin Jun had already thought of Ku Xiangnan, but he really did not know the other one. The other one is so far away, yet so close. Are you talking about yourself? Lin Jun asked. An old man like me is not so bored as to use myself as an example. That person is you. Me? Lin Jun was shocked. That's right, little guy. Your body has star power that doesn't belong to your dantian. That's why your star power is so high. If I'm not wrong, you already have a world in your body. Lin Jun's expression suddenly changed. The dark star space was his secret, and no one had ever seen through it. He did not expect Moonchaser to see through it at a glance. Don't panic. The power of the world can't be hidden from others. You'll know when you reach the primordial realm. You're definitely not the only one in this situation. Then can I go to the Kirin clan now? Hee hee. I'm afraid you won't get that treatment. If you're the first to pass the heavenly gate during the black hole stage, someone would naturally pick you up. Even if you were the second, it would be fine. However, you passed during the star system stage. Do you know how many star system stages have passed before you? So if you want to go to the Kirin clan, you'll have to find them yourself. Moonchaser stretched. I haven't talked so much in so many years. I really feel a little tired. Senior, do you explain a lot to every warrior who passes the heavenly gate? This old man isn't that enthusiastic. I've said so much to you because you and I are fated. All right. Hurry up and go in. Remember, be smart when you reach the primordial realm. This isn't the new territories. Any random expert can destroy you. With that, Moonchaser leaned against the cloud and began to rest, muttering to himself. Once the black hole appeared, there was no one in the heavenly gate. Isn't guarding a gate that no one will pass the most boring thing in the world? Lin Jun saw that Moonchaser seemed to be ignoring him, so he did not ask any more questions. He put away the dollar and turned to enter the golden gate. A white light flashed before his eyes. This gate was the barrier between the primordial realm and the new territories. The next moment, Lin Jun arrived in a new world. White clouds drifted in front of him, and gusts of wind blew. His body began to fall uncontrollably. The gravity on the ground was so great that Lin Jun found it abnormally difficult to fly. He forcefully twisted his body to fly. Not only was his speed much slower, but his star power consumption was also 10 times greater, as expected of the primordial realm with super strong gravity. This gravity isn't suitable for flying. I have to land. Lin Jun lowered his head and gradually saw the ground below him. It was truly a vast expanse of land. After Lin Jun passed through the heavenly gate, he appeared in the atmosphere above the ground. According to Moonchaser's explanation and what Lin Jun knew, the primordial realm was a huge sphere. Everyone lived in this sphere. There was a vast expanse of land and a vast starry sky. The new territories had the starry sky enveloping the land, while the primordial realm had the land enveloping the starry sky. Lin Jun did not choose the direction of the starry sky. According to what he knew, most people in the primordial realm lived on the ground. His body fell all the way and finally landed successfully. Boom! A cloud of dust rose. Lin Jun felt his feet tremble, but only a shallow imprint was left on the ground. Lin Jun shot down like a missile, but it did not shake the ground. This meant that the ground was the barrier between the new territories and the primordial realm. It was unimaginably sturdy. He adjusted his position in the air and did not choose the wilderness. Instead, he chose a main road. Standing on the ground and looking up, Lin Jun was attracted by the marvelous scenery in front of him. A vast expanse of land with no end in sight. Planets were suspended in the sky, forming a strange landscape. Some planets seemed to be only tens of thousands of kilometers away from people. Standing on the ground, one could even see the mountains on the planets. There were blue, orange, and black planets. Some planets even had star rings. They were extremely beautiful. The surrounding abundant dark energy formed an endless amount of spirit chi. Taking a deep breath, he felt comfortable all over. As expected, it's a treasure land for cultivation. No wonder no one in the primordial realm is willing to go to the new territories. Compared to the primordial realm, the new territories are simply a garbage dump. Lin Jun secretly decided that he had to carve out a new world in this place that was even more vast and exciting than the new territories. Nay. Behind him, there was a series of beast cries. Immediately after, someone shouted, "The Wood King's heir is out. Unrelated people, please leave." Lin Jun turned around and saw a huge horse carriage breaking through the air. 8 dragon horses pulled the carriage. The carriage was a domain monarch-level coachman. The carriage was a small palace. Colorful clouds lingered above it, and music played. Chapter 614. Lin Jun wasn't the only one on the road. There were others around him as well. When they saw the carriage approaching, they all made way. Lin Jun wasn't used to this kind of behavior, but he wouldn't cause any trouble because of it, so he dodged to the side. The carriage whizzed past on the road at about 10 times the speed of sound. 10 times the speed of sound wasn't slow. Under the immense pressure of the primordial realm, it was impossible to have the same speed as the new territories. The people around him only returned to normal after the carriage passed by. Is the Wood King's heir out on patrol again? Maybe. I heard that he obtained a new territory. He should be going there to patrol. This is what it means to be a winner in life. He's rich and powerful, unlike people like us who have to run around for a few silver coins every day. You're good enough. You earn silver coins every day. For someone like me who's in a black hole, it's difficult to find a suitable job. I can only do some rough work in the arena and earn copper coins every day. Work hard. When you reach the galaxy stage, you can apply for a position at the king's residence. Then, you'll get a generous salary. Forget it. Not just anyone can become a guest minister. My biggest dream is to be a driver for the crown prince. Look at that coachman. He's so impressive. Hee. Then I'm afraid you have no hope. To be a coachman for the heir, not only do you have to be proficient in controlling beasts, but you also have to stand out in the galaxy stage. That coachman, the domain monarch, definitely has more than 1,000,000 star power. Being a coachman is just one of his jobs. He has another job, which is being a bodyguard. Then I really have no hope. Sigh, the primordial realm is so hard. Sometimes I really want to go to the new territories. At least I can go to a planet and be a local tyrant. You won't live forever in the new territories. Are you willing? Then, I'll stay in the primordial realm. Listening to the conversation between the two passers-by, Lin Jun had a better understanding of the primordial realm. Because he didn't know much about the primordial realm, Lin Jun wasn't in a hurry. He walked slowly along the road like a normal person while talking to Chris. Can I use the dimensional universe communication now? Master, you can't use the dimensional universe for the time being. You don't have an identity in the primordial realm yet. You can only use it after you obtain an identity and receive the serial number of the primordial realm's dimensional universe. You want to get a new number? Is the previous serial number invalid? It's not completely invalid. When you return to the new territories, you can still switch back to the numbering of the new territories, but it can't be used in the primordial realm. What about my friends? It's all the same. After they come to the primordial realm, they have to change to a new dimensional universe number. Lin Jun sighed. He thought that after coming here, he could immediately contact Little Phoenix, but he didn't expect that the dimensional universe couldn't be used. Then I can't find my old friends? Yes, the current me is equivalent to a standalone machine. I can't communicate with the outside world, so Master, you must immediately obtain an identity. Then do you have any understanding of the current situation in the primordial realm? What should I do? In Lin Jun's mind, Chris twisted her body. The primordial realm is like a ball. In the middle of the ball is the endless starry sky. It's said that tens of billions of years ago, someone once estimated its diameter. The approximate number is 4,627 billion light years. However, the primordial realm has been expanding. Tens of billions of years have passed, and it's hard to determine the exact number now. No one who wants to traverse the endless starry sky has succeeded. Lin Jun was secretly speechless. What kind of distance was 40,000 billion light years? However, the largest and most important part of the primordial realm is the continent. The continent includes all the mountains, rivers, and lakes that people know of. There are tens of thousands of countries on the continent, and the hierarchy is clear. Oh, what kind of system is there? Countries that can be named with a single character are all relatively powerful countries, such as Qin, Han, Chu, Zhou, Tang, Jin, and so on. In short, countries with a single character are the most powerful. Many of their subordinate countries exist under them. For example, the land we're standing on is called Southern Liang. It's a subsidiary country of Liang. However, Master, don't think that this is a small country. There are more than 900 counties in southern Liang, and each county has thousands of prefectures. The size of a prefecture is only a few times larger than the Milky Way where our hometown is. Lin Jun pondered for a moment. If that's the case, a prefecture here is probably equivalent to a beginner-level civilization in the New Territories. A county is equivalent to the Sanjiang Federation, and a country is equivalent to an empire like the Fire Qilin. Master, you can understand it this way. However, there are still too many differences between the primordial realm and the New Territories. For example, many places here can't be entered into parallel universes. If you want to fly in parallel universes, you need to have a fixed flight path. Moreover, you have to stop for inspection when you cross the border. It's very troublesome. Then how do we travel? Teleportation portals. The teleportation portals here are very developed. Important prefectures and even families have teleportation portals. However, there's a fee. Lin Jun nodded. No matter where he went, money was the most important thing. Compared to the New Territories, the population of the primordial realm is much greater. After all, there are continents everywhere. There are people living everywhere. If the total population of the New Territories is 100, then the population of the primordial realm might be 100,000. Of course, there's no way to calculate the exact number. Chris continued to remind Lin Jun. Master, in the primordial realm, a prefecture lord is a world king powerhouse. Any random county princess is at the immortality stage. A prefecture lord is a world king? Lin Jun was shocked. That's normal. Babies born in the primordial realm have star cores in their bodies as soon as they're born. In other words, the babies of the primordial realm's natives are all at the star realm. By the time they're 18 years old, they'll at least reach the peak of the stellar stage, and that's the worst. Generally, as long as someone guides them or they work hard, it's normal for them to reach the black hole stage or the nebula stage. At this time, Chris scanned the two passers-by in front of them. Master, one of them is at the nebula stage, and the other is at the black hole stage. They're both young. The black hole stage has a star power of 3,000, and the nebula stage has a star power of 15,000. What do you think of these two people in the New Territories? Lin Jun took a deep breath. A star power of 15,000 in the nebula stage was at the level of Fifth Ghost and Ying Hua in the arena. A star power of 3,000 in the black hole stage was comparable to an ordinary level 9 nebula stage. The primordial realm's combat level was actually so high. Master, if you want to survive in the primordial realm, the most important thing is to make money. I think you should go to the prefectural city as soon as possible and find a job after getting an identity. You can't do anything in the primordial realm without money. For example, you need to buy me an energy core now. That's a lot of money. Make money. I know Star Shift. Is that okay? The primordial realm calls this refining. As for the specifics, you can try it yourself. I've just arrived in the primordial realm and can't answer questions that are too complicated. As Chris spoke, she started to act shamelessly. Lin Jun had no choice but to close the dimensional universe and continue on his way. He increased his speed. Traveling with 10 times the gravity was indeed a difficult task. Lin Jun couldn't perform at his original level at all. He couldn't even travel at 100 times the speed of sound, let alone at sublight speed. This was because there were often buildings, forests, and mountains along the side of the road. He had to turn frequently and couldn't increase his speed. After walking for a while, even Lin Jun was a little tired. He couldn't help but envy the people who had carriages. Let's try the spaceship. Lin Jun took out the spaceship and wanted to pilot it forward. But just as he took out the spaceship, Chris ran out again. Master, the primordial realm advocates environmental protection and forbids the use of such energy-consuming technological products. If you don't want to be caught, you should put the spaceship away. Also, the gravity at high altitudes is even greater here. The spaceship can't take off quickly. Lin Jun recalled how he was pulled down from the sky by gravity as soon as he arrived in the primordial realm. He knew that Chris was telling the truth. Lin Jun had no choice but to continue on his way. Fortunately, the place he landed wasn't far from the prefectural city. After rushing for half a day and even taking a shortcut over a mountain, He could already see his destination. Muwang Province City. What a beautiful city. 2 planets were floating in the sky. Perhaps they were reflecting the light of a star somewhere. They emitted a faint, clear light that shone on the huge city below. The light from the 2 planets intertwined, forming an aurora-like light that fell from the sky like a waterfall. The colors kept changing, making the city below look like a fairy tale kingdom. Lin Jun still hadn't figured out the primordial realm's day and night cycle. It seemed very complicated. There were too many stars in the sky, and their orbits weren't very regular. He entered the city along the way. The prefectural city was called Muwang Province City. The person in charge of the city was a peak realm king. Muwang was a hereditary noble title, and the city was named after it. After Lin Jun entered the city, he once again felt an aura that was completely different from the new territories. The roads were wide, and there were shops all around. They looked simple and unadorned. Tea houses, hotels, inns, alchemy rooms, martial artist clubs, spirit readers clubs, auction houses, smoke houses, and some brothels filled with the scent of sex. Gambling and brothels are legal in the primordial realm. There are also many ways to earn money here. Master, you could try to find a job. Lin Jun touched his pocket. There was only 1 copper coin, which was 1 yuan. He should find something to do and find out how to get to the Kirin clan. Lin Jun thought that the tavern should be a place to gather and distribute information. So, he walked into a tavern. After entering, a beautiful woman with snow-white skin and red eyes came up to Lin Jun and asked him what he wanted to eat. Lin Jun glanced at the menu. After hesitating for a while, he turned around and left the tavern. 1 yuan couldn't order anything. He came to the front of the tavern. No, he couldn't afford the room. He wanted to see if there were any cheap big bowls of tea in the tea house. However, he found that the cheapest tea cost 50 yuan a pot. Smokehouse. Forget it. He could only smell the smoke. He entered a trading company. Lin Jun found many good things inside, but he didn't have the money to buy them. After walking in a big circle, Lin Jun found that he had nowhere to go. He squatted helplessly on the street. Lin Jun, who had no concept of money, finally had a taste of what it was like to be penniless. He was very hungry, and he didn't have any friends here. He raised his head and looked around. Lin Jun thought to himself, "Do I have to beg for food?" Suddenly, a huge signboard appeared in Lin Jun's vision. Chapter 615. Upon seeing this, Lin Jun's eyes lit up. Lin Jun had heard the conversations of passers-by before, so he knew that a guest was very impressive. Not only did they have free food and lodging, but they also had a high salary and could even obtain the resources needed for cultivation. These are all things that Lin Jun was currently lacking, so he hurried over. There was an introduction on the plaque. The Wang Mansion is recruiting guests. All Nebula stage and above can apply. The registration fee is 1 yuan. You only need to pass the assessment. Registration location, Lianyun Pavilion Restaurant. Lin Jun turned his head and looked at the street in the distance. There was a huge building that towered into the clouds. The building's appearance was exactly the same as the picture on the plaque. This is it. Luckily, I still have 1 yuan. Otherwise, I would have to sell my things and I wouldn't be able to get much money. Upon reaching the primordial realm, Lin Jun knew that universe crystals and spaceships were worthless. Moreover, most of his universe crystals were in his card. He probably couldn't take them out even if he wanted to, because universe crystals weren't considered a currency in the primordial realm. He immediately turned and walked toward the Lianyun Pavilion Restaurant. After walking for more than 10 minutes, Lin Jun arrived at the entrance of the restaurant. There was already a long queue here. There were only 2 types of queues. One was for Nebula stage, and the other was for Star Domain stage. The line for the Nebula stage was longer, but there were not many people in the Star Domain stage. After all, as a Star Domain stage ancient martial art practitioner, they had a certain status even in the Yuan realm. There were very few who took the initiative to be a guest elder. Even if a Star Domain stage warrior came to be a guest, he or she would be a guest with a certain status. For example, the Crown Prince's coachman doubled as a bodyguard. The queue for Nebula stage warriors was 100 meters long. Lin Jun waited for an hour before it was his turn. "What's your name? Where are you from?" Lin Jun, from the New Territories. The person in charge of registration looked up at Lin Jun in surprise. From the New Territories? That's really strange. No one from the New Territories has come to our Mu Wong province for 100 years. After passing through the gate of the primordial realm, every warrior went to a different place. Moreover, there were fewer and fewer people at the gate of heaven later on. It was normal for a prefecture to not have anyone come for 100 years. Okay, I'll register you first, but you need an identity document. I want to apply for an identity document. You can do it on behalf of others, but after that, your nationality will be Nanliang. Lin Jun nodded. To him, it didn't matter which nationality he was from, but... Can I replace it with something? Lin Jun started to take things out. Lin Jun did not need any flying ships, deity weapons, or even cosmos crystals. In the end, Lin Jun had no choice but to take out the Supreme Grade Celestial Sword from the Spirit Void Realm King. Supreme Grade Celestial Sword. This is okay. It's worth about 100,000, but things are discounted here. We'll buy it for 80,000. After deducting your identity fee, we'll give you 77,000. Lin Jun was stunned. Although he didn't know the purchasing power of the Primordial Realm's currency, this was a Supreme Grade Celestial Sword. Every Realm King only had one. Even if the items in the Primordial Realm were good, this definitely wasn't trash. That's too little. This is a Supreme Grade Celestial Sword. Huh. I know it's a Supreme Grade Celestial Sword, but they're not worth much in the Primordial Realm. We're not a shop, so of course, we can't give you a full price. 100,000 is a lot. Brother, seeing that you came from the New Territories, you must be poor. Do you not have any money for your next meal? I advise you to sell it. Otherwise, you won't be able to register. Looking at the other party's extortionate face, Lin Jun felt disgusted and put away the sword. I'll come back after I apply for my identity. Whatever. If you don't sell your celestial sword to us, no one here will buy it. Then I'll have to try to know. Lin Jun snorted and turned to leave the group. He was going to find a place to sell some of the things he had. At least, he had to apply for his identity first. He didn't walk far before a warrior caught up with him. Brother in front, wait a minute. Lin Jun turned around. It was a level 5-star, sector-level warrior behind him. This person was full of astral power and was very strong. Brother, what's the matter? This person circled Lin Jun a few times and finally said, You're Lin Jun? Lin Jun was stunned. You heard me say my name just now? Yes, I heard you. I heard that you came from the New Territories. Are you that Lin Jun from the New Territories? I mean, you're from the Fire Qilin Empire, right? You know me? Haha, it's really you. I thought you looked like you just now, because I'm also from the New Territories. 700 years ago, when you and Ku Xiangnan went through the Divine Gate together, I saw it with my own eyes through the big screen. At that time, many people were talking about you. I didn't expect you to break free and come to the Primordial Realm. You are? Oh, my name is Gu Yunjia. I'm from the White Sea Empire. When you broke through the Gate of Heaven, I was still a level 8 nebula. You probably wouldn't know me, but I know you. You know, you were my idol back then. Hello, Brother Gu. What idol? I'm just a newbie now. Lin Jun was also very happy. He came from the New Territories to the Primordial Realm and was unfamiliar with the place. It was good to meet someone from the same hometown. Ha ha ha. Brother Lin, I'm older than you by a few years. I'll be a big brother this time. Why? Didn't you sign up just now? Yeah, these Primordial Realm martial artists wanted to rip me off. I only got 100,000 for a Supreme Grade Celestial Weapon. That's really too little. A Supreme Grade Celestial Weapon in the Primordial Realm costs at least 500,000. Let's go. Follow me to a place. It's a small matter to register your identity. I can do it for you without spending any money. There's such a place. Lin Jun followed Gu Yunjia forward. Of course. Let me tell you, there are many martial artists from the New Territories here. How many martial artists have gone through the Divine Gate? There are more than 100 New Territories martial artists in Mu Wong province alone. We formed a New Territories hometown association. We'll help each other when we're in trouble. You should join us too. Lin Jun's interest was piqued. If they were all New Territories martial artists, Then this hometown association was not bad. Just as he was about to leave with Gu Yunjia, a voice came from behind. Gu Yunjia, are you going to be a busybody? The two of them turned around and saw the person who registered Lin Jun standing behind them. He was looking at them with an unfriendly gaze. Muin, this is my hometown. Is there a problem with me helping him? You'd better think carefully. You should know that many people from the new territories have also signed up for the foreign minister recruitment. Don't look for trouble. Gu Yunjia's expression changed. Then he puffed out his chest. Muin, my hometown friend, is a top genius in the new territories. I advise you to keep your eyes open and don't do anything wrong. Him a genius? Muin looked at Lin Jun with disdain. Then I'll see what kind of future your genius has that you're so protective of him. But let me say the ugly words first. The problem with the results of the new territories assessment this time was caused by you. You don't have to worry about that. If one of us becomes a foreign minister, you, Muin, will have to lower your head. It seemed that Gu Yunjia didn't have a good impression of Muin. Perhaps he had also been scammed by him. Haha, you bunch of rotten potatoes and stinky bird eggs want to become guest elders? Don't daydream. Muin mocked without restraint. At this moment, Lin Jun looked at Gu Yunjia. Brother Gu, if I become a foreign minister, will my status be higher than this person's? Of course. A foreign minister is an honored guest of the prince's mansion. They're just servants. Dealing with them will be as easy as stepping on ants. Then, when does the foreign minister assessment start? About a month later. Then when can I get my status? I'll ask a friend to help you. You'll get it soon. Lin Jun nodded, then turned to Muin. Listen carefully. I'll register in a while. I'll reserve one of the top 10 foreign ministers. Once I succeed, you can get lost. Oh ho, then I'll wait and see. Rookie from the new territories. Muin sneered. He didn't care about Lin Jun's threat at all. He turned and left. Brother Lin, are you confident? The primordial realm isn't like the new territories. The warriors here are all abnormally strong. I'm not confident of getting first place, but if you're willing to help me, it won't be a problem for me to get into the top 10. That's great. If you can succeed, our hometown association's reputation will soar. Tell me, what do you want me to help you with? Status. Gu Yunjia nodded. He started calling through the dimensional universe and quickly found someone. This person specialized in handling identities. After a while, he actually managed to get Lin Jun a new identity. Lin Jun's dimensional universe was finally reactivated and could be used in the primordial realm. The location of the new identity was here. Lin Jun, Xinla Prefecture, Muwang Province, Southern Liang Country. Dimensional Universe number 7257347124004900743688. Looking at this serial number that was more than 20 digits long, Lin Jun was secretly speechless. The population of the primordial realm was unimaginably large. Brother, you still have to help me with something. Help me get some money. I can give this saber to you. Gu Yunjia took the supreme-grade celestial saber from Lin Jun and nodded. That's fine. How about this? I'll get you 1 million. The rest will be my gift to you. As long as you can get the foreign minister status, everything will be worth it. I believe in your strength. Lin Jun's dimensional universe was activated, and his bank card could be used. Gu Yunjia transferred 1 million to him. It was obvious that 1 million wasn't a small sum to Gu Yunjia. This fellow from the same hometown had given him a lot of support. Brother Lin, do you want to go to the hometown association with me? Not now. I'll go register first, and then I have something to do. We'll meet again in the future. Chapter 616. The trading company in Muwang Province was very big. Lin Jun had just entered and taken a quick look, and he had made a good discovery. After receiving 1 million, Lin Jun walked in again. Chris, are you sure that taking those pills will help me advance my star power? Of course, Master. As a black hole beast, you can actually feel things. It should be beneficial to you after you devour it. Lin Jun nodded. In the primordial realm, other than normal cultivation, there was another way to speed up cultivation, and that was to take pills. After these pills were refined, they would receive the essence of the world and contain the essence of the world. Taking 1 pill would be equivalent to months of hard cultivation. There were many rules and taboos for others to pay attention to when taking pills to advance. For example, after taking one pill, one would need to digest and absorb it for a while before taking a second pill. Overall, it was faster than normal cultivation, but it would not be ridiculously fast. It would take 3 years to advance from level 1 to level 2 after entering the level 1 nebula level 2. Then, taking pills to cultivate might take 1 year. However, it will be troublesome to remove the side effects of the pills afterward. However, Lin Jun had a feeling that if he were to devour pills, he should be able to devour them in large quantities. He did not pay much attention just now. He hoped that these pills would not be too expensive. Lin Jun did not gain much in the 700 years in the mirror dimension space. Although he broke through the nebula level quickly, he was still lagging behind overall. Lin Jun needed a way to increase his strength quickly, and devouring was his biggest trump card. As he walked into the trading company, a person approached him sneakily. "Brother, I have some good stuff here. Do you want to take a look?" "What good stuff?" Lin Jun asked. "Take a look. It's definitely good stuff." The person took out a small chip. "Implant this into your dimensional universe, and you'll be able to see things that you can't normally see." The sisters from the butterfly race are fighting a werewolf. The mermaid girl is being ravaged by an ugly tentacle monster, and the supreme goddess of planet Pandos is serving a black bear after being conquered. The battle is intense, and the 4D scenes will stimulate your senses. It's definitely worth it. Only 988. Lin Jun's face darkened. He threw the chip back and walked forward. He was actually a seller of pornographic films. Lin Jun didn't stay any longer. Instead, he went to the front of the pill counter. On the rows of shelves of elixirs, exquisite little boxes were filled with elixirs. Every pill had a clear label and effect, as well as a price tag. Some pills could increase one's speed for a short time. Some could increase one's strength. Some could burn one's star power, and some could remove the poison from pills. Of course, most of them were elixirs used during cultivation to increase their astral powers. "Show me the energy gathering powder." "Sir, feel free to look around. We are the largest pill trading company in the entire Muwang province. Even if you buy from the dimensional universe, you will have to collect the goods from us. Furthermore, we save on handling fees compared to the dimensional universe." Lin Jun nodded. He took the essence gathering powder and sniffed it. A wave of spiritual energy hit him in the face. 1 pill is equivalent to a month's hard work. Good stuff. There were 10 pills in the small bottle, which cost 1 million yuan. 1 pill cost 100,000 yuan. Lin Jun hesitated for a moment before putting the pills down. He only had enough money to buy 1 bottle of pills. After that, he had nothing left. "Sir, there is a top-grade energy gathering powder over there. It is also used in the nebula stage. 1 pill is equivalent to 2 months of cultivation, and the side effects are minimal. It costs 300,000 yuan per pill." Why is there such a huge difference in the effects of the same energy gathering powder? Lin Jun asked as he took the bottle. Because the elixirs are made by different alchemists. The energy gathering powder refined by a 3rd-grade alchemist is definitely better than that refined by a 2nd-grade alchemist. Looking at the medicine that cost 3 million yuan per bottle, Lin Jun estimated that he would be able to advance to the nebula stage 5 if he consumed 2 bottles now. After putting down the energy gathering powder, Lin Jun made up his mind. He had to be generous in the future. No, he had to consume large amounts of elixirs. If he had to rely on purchasing, no amount of money would be enough. The best way was for Lin Jun to learn alchemy himself. If he wanted to learn alchemy, Lin Jun had an advantage, which was that he could grow his own herbs. Lin Jun had also thought of a location where he would grow his herbs. It would be on the Dark Star. As a real planet, the Dark Star's life force was extremely vigorous. It was even more vigorous than the inner worlds of otherworld kings. Lin Jun also had the planet's heart of vegetation. It was simply a holy land for cultivating elixirs. "Chris, give me a list of ingredients for the energy gathering powder. All the elixirs can be grown on the Dark Star." The ingredients of the elixirs were also listed. Chris quickly gave Lin Jun a list of ingredients. Lin Jun started purchasing according to the recipe on the list. 500 sets of clear spirit grass seeds, 100 sets of frost mist grass, 100 sets of ambergris, 50 sets of secret safflower. The price of the seeds was still very cheap. Soon, thousands of seeds were purchased. 1 million yuan became 300,000 yuan. After strolling around the trading company for a while, Lin Jun saw many good things. Spiritual Force Training Potion. Lin Jun's spiritual force was currently at 99% of the Emerald Glow level. Generally, martial artists who had reached the Domain King level generally had Emerald Glow level spiritual force. And martial artists who had reached the World King level were either on par with Lin Jun or higher than Lin Jun. However, he didn't have the money to buy the spiritual force potion or the seeds. Although I have the Dark Star space, which is almost like a cheat, I still have some time before I can refine the elixir. I can only focus on one thing for now. After giving up on the spiritual force potion, Lin Jun saw other things. Cultivation techniques. There were actually cultivation techniques for sale here. Lin Jun's 9-spear river was gradually unable to keep up with the times. After all, it was a cultivation technique from the new territories. It was more or less suitable for the stellar stage. Lin Jun was now at the nebulous stage. His opponents were either domain kings or world kings. He needed a new cultivation technique. However, he realized that the cultivation techniques here were simply ridiculously expensive. A 100-battle spear technique manual was actually sold for 5 million yuan. A Overlord spear technique manual was sold for 10 million yuan. And these weren't the best ones. Even better manuals required Lin Jun's identity to be upgraded before he could buy them. For example, he had to upgrade his customer status at the Universe First Bank. Lin Jun's savings at the Universe First Bank were still 0, so he couldn't buy anything too good. In addition to cultivation techniques, Lin Jun also saw a treasure that belonged to the primordial realm. Rainbow Halberd. Strictly speaking, the Rainbow Halberd was also a top-grade heaven artifact. However, this heaven artifact already had a spirituality that belonged to the primordial realm and was thus upgraded to a treasure. Treasures couldn't be seen in the new territories. Everything in the new territories could only be considered artifacts. Sacred artifacts, divine artifacts, and heaven artifacts were all categorized as instruments and couldn't be considered treasures. Only items with spirituality, like the primordial realm, could be considered treasures. The Rainbow Halberd was 5 meters long and weighed 300,000 kilograms. Lin Jun was secretly speechless. Carrying this thing with him was probably equivalent to carrying a mountain. Looking behind the Rainbow Halberd, there were also mountain-toppling axes, earth-splitting hammers, and so on. Lin Jun didn't continue looking. He was afraid that if he saw something like a long spear, he wouldn't be able to resist the temptation to buy it. However, he didn't have the money and would only be asking for trouble. The Rainbow Halberd's price was also 6 million yuan. He reckoned that not everyone in the primordial realm could afford it. Upgrading his identity, refining his medicine, cultivation techniques, treasures, all of these required money. After buying the seeds, Lin Jun's 1 million yuan was reduced to 300,000 yuan in the blink of an eye. Lin Jun prepared to leave the trading company. After taking a few steps, a man who was reading a book walked over. "Friend, do you want to take a look at the goods?" With his previous experience of being peddled with pornography, Lin Jun instinctively felt that it wasn't anything good when he heard the name of the medicine. He immediately shook his head. The man said somewhat anxiously, "Sir, what I have here is Empty Mountain Spirit Spring Water. It's collected from White Cloud Mountain, which is 5 million kilometers away. It has a great effect on the growth of plants. I saw that you just bought some seeds. Don't you need some spring water to water them?" Lin Jun paused for a moment. From the sound of it, this spring water seemed to have the same effect as the planet's heart of vegetation. However, the Dark Star had the planet's heart of vegetation. The growth of the medicine was already very fast. Lin Jun really didn't need it. Seeing Lin Jun shake his head, the man said again, "Sir, as long as you open up a small place in your inner world and fill it with spring water, as long as you have 2 tons, the spring water will automatically absorb spiritual energy and then multiply endlessly. If you buy it once, Your plants will be able to grow quickly in the future. Lin Jun looked at the man. Do you think I have an inner world? The man was stunned for a moment. Then, he revealed a dejected expression. Oh, sorry, I was too anxious to sell the goods and forgot that I should only sell to realm kings. Only realm kings have inner worlds. Lin Jun's gaze swept across the simple book in the man's hand. How much is your spring water? 100,000 yuan per ton, but you don't have an inner world. This thing's spiritual energy evaporates quickly in the outside world. Are you sure you want to buy it? It's fine. I just raise plants for fun. Well, I have nothing to do. I like to get some flowers, plants, and antiques. Give me 2 tons. Huh. Great. Thank you, Tycoon. The man took out a small spatial bottle. This thing was used to store liquids. It was the same principle as a spatial ring. There were 2 tons of spirit spring water inside. Lin Jun took the bottle. Just as he was about to pay, he suddenly stopped. What book are you reading? It looks quite simple. Can you let me take a look? You know, I like these things. Oh, this is a miscellaneous book. It's about the galactic beasts. It lists the abilities of some rare galactic beasts. Usually, no one would read it. It was left behind by my family's elders. I took it out to read when I was bored. If Tycoon likes it, I'll give it to you. Thank you. Lin Jun took the book and completed the transaction with the man. After receiving 200,000 yuan, the man thanked him profusely and left. Lin Jun put away the spirit spring water. Then, he looked at the ancient book with excitement. This was the only copy that could not be found in the dimensional universe. Chapter 617. Lin Jun still had 100,000 yuan left. He left the trading company, walked to a hotel, and booked a room. The currency of the primordial realm seemed to be relatively strong. A few million yuan could buy a lot of good things. A room in such a high-rise building only cost 300 yuan a night. After booking the room, Lin Jun first entered the dark star space. After the dark star space stabilized, Lin Jun could use world teleportation to enter his own space. After entering, Lin Jun appeared under the stellar fruit tree. The stellar fruit tree covered the sky and blocked the starlight of the 2 stars, Moon, Stallion, and Mars. The stellar fruit tree was growing day by day. If placed on Earth, it could even cover a small country. Looking through the gaps between the branches and leaves, one could see specks of starlight floating amidst the lush greenery. Those are the radiance emitted by star crystals. Unfortunately, these star crystals could only support a person's cultivation until the star realm. There are no more star crystals to use after that. The huge cloud scraper vine snaked up the stellar fruit tree. Thanks to this vine, it limited the stellar fruit tree's unlimited growth, so as to prevent the dark star from being sucked dry by the stellar fruit tree. Lin Jun searched for a while. The valley where the stellar fruit tree was located had the most abundant spiritual energy. He found a stone pit in the valley. He poured the spatial spirit spring into it, forming a pool of spring water. The spiritual energy in the surroundings was attracted by the spring water. Water vapor gathered in all directions, and the spring water even slowly grew stronger. Perhaps one day, this place would become a pool or a lake. However, it would definitely not become a sea because Lin Jun needed the spring water here to water the plants. Then, he planted plants near the valley one by one. In the dark star space, Lin Jun's was above everything. He didn't even need to do anything personally. With a thought, the soil would automatically dig up and bury the seeds, and the spring water would automatically water them. Even the leaves of the stellar fruit tree would automatically reveal some gaps, allowing sunlight to shine in and promote the growth of the plants. At the same time, he placed a heart of vegetation, which made the dark star's vitality even more abundant. Lin Jun could even feel that the seeds were starting to take root and germinate under the soil. Perhaps one day later, this place would be covered in verdant greenery. These herbs will mature soon. What I lack the most now is experience and skill in alchemy. Lin Jun sighed. If he were to refine pills, he would have an advantage. Aside from the dark star, he also possessed the dark cyan flame, which was the strongest alchemic fire. However, Lin Jun didn't have any experience or skills. He was afraid that he wouldn't succeed at the beginning. With his current financial resources, he couldn't afford this kind of consumption. However, Lin Jun did not think too much about it. He would cross that bridge when he got there. He still had a long way to go in the primordial realm, so he was not in a hurry. After leaving the dark star space, Lin Jun returned to his hotel bed. Leaning against the headboard, Lin Jun opened the book he got from the spring water cellar. The book was very old, and the paper was yellowed. He didn't know how many years had passed. Most importantly, this book was hand-drawn and not printed. This meant that this was a unique copy. To put it nicely, this kind of thing was the only one of its kind. To put bluntly, it might just be a random scribble. The dimensional universe wouldn't have such an unpresentable thing, so it was very likely that this was the only book in the entire universe. He opened the first page of the book. There was a lifelike black hole beast on it. I remember when I joined the Galaxy Raise-Han Alliance, Han Sha told me that in the entire history of the universe, there was only one record of a black hole beast appearing. But that should have been in the new territories. Someone in the primordial realm must have seen a black hole beast before. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to draw such a lifelike picture. I wonder if this is the one from the new territories. On the picture, there was a giant black hole vortex above the black hole beast's head. Its body was several hundred meters tall, like a small mountain. This was an adult black hole beast, at least at the World King level. There were also annotations in the book. Black hole beast, a variant of the Chilean beast. It has no specific attributes. It can also be called all attribute. It can send out a black hole to devour everything. It is the most powerful and mysterious galactic beast in the entire universe, and it is extremely rare. Lin Jun's fingers slid across the pages of the book. He carefully flipped through the pages. The black hole beast has 3 supernatural powers. One is the black hole storm used in battle, which is its strongest ability. The other is its ability to devour as it grows. The black hole beast will find things suitable for it to devour and increase its strength. It is one of the fastest evolving galactic beasts. In addition to these two, the black hole beast also has another ability, soul search. Seeing this, Lin Jun was stunned for a moment. There was a strange feeling in his heart. Black hole beasts, or humans with the bloodline of black hole beasts, are natural spirit readers. Their use of spirit power surpasses that of ordinary people. It is very likely that they have mastered soul techniques at a young age and possess powerful soul power. Soul search is a method that black hole beasts use to deprive others of their memories. After killing the other party, they will grasp all of their memories and absorb the useful parts for their own use. This is a powerful ability unique to black hole beasts. The specific method of using it is as follows. Seeing this, Lin Jun closed his eyes. He had mastered Soul Lock a long time ago. His understanding of spirit power was also much faster than others. He also possessed powerful soul power, and he was a person with the bloodline of the black hole beast. As for why this was the case, Lin Jun now had a guess. Perhaps it was because his soul had passed through a black hole before. When he was reborn, what exactly happened? Why did he possess the bloodline of the black hole beast after passing through a black hole? All these were still unknown. But now it seemed that Soul Lock was the elementary version of Soul Search. Because when you soul lock a person, although the other party would tell you everything without holding back, you would still have to ask them one by one. In fact, it was not particularly convenient to use. The real black hole beast technique was Soul Search, killing an enemy and completely depriving them of their memories. This was such a tempting thing. After arriving in the primordial realm, Lin Jun felt that there were too many things he had to learn. However, if he wanted to stand out in this world full of powerful people, it was definitely impossible to progress step by step. If this black hole beast soul search technique was used well, it would be a great help to him. He just did not know if there were any side effect to soul search. Was it unlimited or was there a limit? Even if there was a limit, it would still be very useful. According to the method on the page, Lin Jun carefully studied the black hole beast soul search technique. After repeated deduction and research, Lin Jun finally completely grasped the soul search technique after an entire night. Phew, great, soul search, huh? Everyone in this world, as long as they are my enemies, can be my knowledge base. So what if they don't understand this world? One-eye soul search is enough for you to learn for a lifetime. However, Lin Jun discovered that the soul search wasn't limitless. After each soul search, the new soul energy would need a period of time to adapt to his own soul energy. If the other party's soul energy was weak, it might take a month. If the soul power was strong, it might take a few years or even more than a decade to fully recover. That's not a problem. I soul search other people's memories. I only need to choose the right ones and those that are useful to me. Lin Jun made up his mind. He still had to choose carefully. After all, this was not an unlimited soul search. After learning soul search, Lin Jun meditated in the hotel room and cultivated for 7 whole days. The primordial realm was full of spirit energy, and the cultivation speed was 10 times faster than in the new territories. Lin Jun used the time deceleration field. These 7 days were equivalent to more than 500 days of ordinary cultivation in the new territories. Lin Jun was definitely a genius in this life, a genius among geniuses. After 7 days of hard cultivation, he took a big step forward on the path of a level 4 nebula and reached the mid-level level 4. The dark star space in his body had also been further expanded, but there was still a long way to go before he could light up the star of 5 demons. On the 8th day, someone in Lin Jun's dimensional universe called him. There was no one else who could call Lin Jun at this time. The only person he knew in the primordial realm was Gu Yunjie. Brother Lin, our new territory's hometown association is holding a gathering. You haven't officially introduced yourself to everyone yet. Come over and get to know us. Everyone wants to meet you. Okay, brother. I'll be right there. Send me the address. Gu Yunjie sent Lin Jun an address and asked Lin Jun to come over as soon as possible. Lin Jun was grateful to Gu Yunjie. Without his 1 million yuan, Lin Jun would probably still be worrying about money. Moreover, the two of them had met by chance, so this friendship was even more precious. Therefore, Lin Jun would not refuse Gu Yunjie's request as long as it was within his means. Lin Jun got up and left the hotel. He'd spent more than 2,000 yuan in the past 7 days, so he only had about 7,000 yuan left. The prefectural city of Muwang province was tens of thousands of kilometers in diameter, and the terrain was complicated. It was tiring to travel by himself. Walking on the streets, Lin Jun saw many people riding on beasts, such as unicorns, draconic horses, and even birds. There were countless types of native beasts in the primordial realm that could be domesticated. It was convenient and cool. For example, the draconic horses that Lin Jun saw galloped in the primordial realm at sublight speed. This was something that Lin Jun could not achieve at the moment. It'll be best if I can refine pills when my herbs mature. Otherwise, I'll just focus on buying and selling herbs. I believe that I can earn money very quickly. I'll get a mount to try and save myself the trouble of traveling. After nearly an hour, Lin Jun finally arrived at the location that Gu Yunjie mentioned. In an alley, in front of a vermilion door, the words New Territories Hometown Association were written in flamboyant calligraphy. Lin Jun knocked on the door, and someone immediately came to open it. Entering the courtyard, he found that many people had already gathered. Lin Jun heard Gu Yunjie say loudly, "Look, our little brother is here. The genius from the primordial realm, Lin Jun. Everyone should know him, haha. Welcome, welcome." Chapter 618. There were dozens of people in the courtyard, most of them in the nebula and star domain stages. After Lin Jun came in, very few people responded to Gu Yunjie's words. Most of them were still looking at Lin Jun with cold eyes. Gu Yunjie was a little embarrassed. "What's wrong? Don't you know Lin Jun? Everyone here is here for the Divine Gate Challenge. Everyone should know about the battle between Lin Jun and Ku Xianglong 700 years ago. In fact, Lin Jun should have been the first person in the black hole stage." At this time, a voice said, "A real man doesn't boast about his past achievements." "Gu Yunjie, you said that was in the past. It's not 700 years ago now." "Huang Yang, what do you mean?" Gu Yunjie looked at the person who spoke. It was a thin man, but he looked very capable. "Simple. Since you're from the New Territories, you're welcome to join our New Territories Fellow Townsmen's Association. However, don't talk about being the first person. That's all in the past. People have to face reality." "That's right." Gu Yunjie was about to say something, but he was interrupted by Lin Jun. Walking up to the table, Lin Jun automatically found a seat beside Gu Yunjia and sat down. Brother Huang Yong is right. What's in the past is in the past. I'm just an ordinary nebulous stage warrior here. I've never thought about being the first person. After all, that person isn't me. Gu Yunjia didn't look very good. He had asked Lin Jun to come over, but he didn't expect these new territories' fellow townsmen to not give him any face. This made him feel a little embarrassed. Huang Yong had a smug look on his face. In his opinion, he had successfully taken Lin Jun down a notch. However, Lin Jun changed the topic. Although the past has become history, I'm still the same person. Lin Jun had the ability to take first place back then. I won't be scared just because 700 years have passed. If anyone doesn't take me seriously and tries to provoke me, I'll definitely make them regret saying those words. Huang Yong's expression changed. He thought that Lin Jun had fallen, so he mocked him. He didn't expect Lin Jun to be so arrogant. Just as he was about to flare up, the man on the main seat spoke. All right. We are all from the new territories and belong to the weakest group in the primordial realm. Let's not argue among ourselves. Give me some face and let this matter pass. The man who spoke was at the pinnacle of level 9 star sector level. There were many such people in the primordial realm. In fact, within each realm, the highest number was not level 1, but level 9. This was because, with the passage of time, everyone would be able to cultivate to level 9 if there were no accidents. However, it wasn't so easy to advance to a higher realm. Most ancient martial art practitioners were stuck at level 9. Huang Yong glanced at the man who spoke and sat down resentfully. However, he still snorted. President, I admire you, but you'd better not side with this guy. This is the primordial realm. It's not the same as before. No one was surprised by his words. Even the president himself wasn't angry. Instead, he faced Lin Jun. Lin Jun, we all know you. You are a genius martial art practitioner. I believe that you won't waste your time just because of 700 years of delay. The new territory's fellow townsmen of Muwang province will welcome your arrival. At this time, Gu Yunjia also said to Lin Jun, this is our president, Su Xingyao. He is the first new territory's martial art practitioner below the World King level to come to Muwang province. He is also the one who established the new territory's fellow townsmen association. You should know that even World King Masters have a place in the primordial realm. Only people like us need to help each other in order to gain a foothold. Thank you, President Su. Thank you for establishing the fellow townsmen association and giving us newcomers a place to stay. Lin Jun bowed to Su Xingyao. Although this president looked a little cowardly and seemed like a good person, he was worthy of Lin Jun's respect for being able to establish the fellow townsmen association. Haha, I don't have much ability. I just came here a little earlier. When I came to the heavenly gates, I was already a level 9 domain king. After 900 years, I am still a level 9 domain king. I don't have much future prospects. Whether the fellow townsmen association can flourish in the future will depend on you youngsters. It was very accurate for a martial art practitioner to judge their age based on their bone age. This Su Xingyao looked to be at least 4,000 years old. It was not wrong to call him Lin Jun and the rest young people. At this time, Gu Yunjia said, President, you have spent all your energy on alchemy research and have delayed your cultivation. Otherwise, I believe that you would have been able to advance to the World King level. Sigh, if I don't research alchemy, I'm afraid that our fellow townsmen association won't even have the money to establish a foothold in the primordial realm. I don't have any extravagant hopes of becoming a world king. I am already 4,900 years old this year, and the lifespan of a domain king is only 5,000 years. I just want to leave behind some wealth for you guys before my time is up, so that the fellow townsmen association can continue. Then, I will be able to close my eyes. Many of the martial art practitioners present were moved. They all tried to persuade the president that he would definitely be able to make a breakthrough at the last moment and successfully advance to the World King level. Lin Jun even saw that some people's eyes were moist. It was obvious that the president was very popular. A 4,900 years old domain king was an old domain king with 1 foot in the grave. He could die at any time. However, Lin Jun still admired the president's moral character. As a newcomer, he especially toasted Su Xingyao. After drinking 2 cups, Su Xingyao stood up and left. You youngsters can continue. I still have to go to the Temple of Longevity to pay my respects tomorrow. I won't be going crazy with you guys. Everyone stood up to send Su Xingyao off. After Gu Yunjie sat down, he said to Lin Jun, "AI, the president is such a good person. I really hope that he can break through to the World King level and extend his lifespan by another 5,000 years. Unfortunately, his lifespan is almost up. It seems that he only has a few years left. Breaking through is too difficult." The president is researching alchemy? Yes, the president is also an alchemist. You might not know this, but he started practicing alchemy in the new territories. I don't know where he obtained some primordial realm pill recipes, but he started researching them in the new territories. Although he didn't make any progress in the primordial realm, his alchemy research has become very impressive. He is now a peak 4th grade alchemist. Peak 4th grade? Lin Jun still didn't understand. You don't understand. Alchemists are divided into 7 grades, from 1 to 7. The higher the grade, the more powerful they are. Let me put it this way. A world king isn't worth much in the primordial realm, but a 4th grade alchemist is worth as much as a world king in the eyes of those big shots. If you advance to the 5th grade, then you can kill a world king just by asking any big shot. Isn't that amazing? Lin Jun nodded silently. He didn't realize that alchemists were worth so much. If you can become a 6th grade alchemist, then even if you want to die, it will be difficult. The value of a 6th grade alchemist is comparable to a longevity realm great god. Lin Jun was even more shocked. If a 6th grade alchemist was comparable to a longevity realm great god, then what about a 7th grade alchemist? Gu Yunjie continued, "We don't have much ability. When we came to the primordial realm, we were all ambitious. But when we came here, we realized that the people of the new territories are nothing more than ants here. Not to mention grand ambitions. Even feeding ourselves is a problem. If it weren't for the support of the president's alchemy, I'm afraid that more than half of us would have to beg for food on the streets. Only a good-for-nothing like you will beg for food. I will never have such a day." At this time, Huang Yong passed by them and directly refuted Gu Yunjie. Gu Yunjie frowned slightly. When he was about to move, Lin Jun pulled him back. Seeing that the two of them didn't move, Huang Yong snorted proudly and said to Lin Jun, "Kid, I'll say it again. This is the new territories, and you're no longer the Lin Jun of the past. You better keep your eyes open." After saying that, he swaggered away with a few of his underlings. "Brother Gu, don't be impulsive. It's not worth it to deal with this kind of person." Gu Yunjie spat in the direction that Huang Yong left. Who's he think he is? If it weren't for a few star domain stage powerhouses mysteriously disappearing, would this guy even have a chance to take the position? Now he's the #1 expert below the president. He's too arrogant. Hearing Gu Yunjie's words, Lin Jun looked to Huang Yong's back thoughtfully. Under the dual stimulation of the empty mountain spirit spring and the planet's heart of vegetation, the herbs on the dark star grew rapidly. After half a month, the first batch of herbs had matured. Lin Jun sowed some of the seeds again, forming a virtuous cycle. Then he picked some of the herbs and prepared to try alchemy. He held a book in his hand called Essentials of Alchemy. This was bought in the dimensional universe. It was a common commodity and only cost a few hundred yuan. Lin Jun couldn't afford it if it was too expensive. Out of 10,000 yuan, he only had 1,000 yuan left. If the alchemy failed, he might have to move out of the hotel and sleep on the streets. In the past few days, Lin Jun had flipped through this Essentials of Alchemy until it was almost rotten. He had long since memorized the contents. Lin Jun took out a simple alchemy furnace. This was something he had bought online and made himself. It could be said to be the worst alchemy furnace in history. However, Lin Jun also had an advantage. That was his deep cyan flame. This was the most crucial aspect of alchemy. Lin Jun's flame was a combination of the power of a phoenix and a qilin. It was also obtained through a series of lucky coincidences. Even for a World King level alchemist, there were very few who possessed such formidable firepower as Lin Jun. This is my first time refining the essence gathering powder. I hope it will be successful. Lin Jun prepared all the herbs he needed and then took out some other materials. Pill stone powder. This is the foundation of alchemy. I only have a small amount here. It can only be used twice. Pill congealing agent. This is also a basic material, but it has slight side effects. These two things, together with my herbs, can be used to refine the essence gathering powder. Lin Jun had experience in refining equipment. After looking at the essentials of alchemy, he felt that he was ready to give it a try. He immediately began to work. The alchemy furnace he made was set up. Lin Jun first heated up the alchemy furnace. A deep cyan flame was sent out, burning fiercely within the alchemy furnace. When the temperature within the alchemy furnace was high enough, Lin Jun threw in the herbs he had prepared. Increase the flame. Gotcha! A crack suddenly appeared on the surface of the alchemy furnace. Then, the flame spread along the crack. The metal alchemy furnace actually showed signs of melting. Lin Jun hurriedly withdrew the flame. Looking at the alchemy furnace he had modified, it was completely ruined. Chapter 619. Looking at the completely destroyed cauldron, Lin Jun sat down helplessly. He had somewhat misjudged the strength of his own firepower. With the power of the dark cyan flame, not to mention this kind of simple self-made pill furnace, even the one sold on the internet would not be able to withstand the calcination. Those good cauldrons cost millions or even tens of millions. Lin Jun could not afford them, even if he went bankrupt. Is my alchemy career going to end here? Lin Jun put away the abandoned cauldron. He decided to pick the herbs and go out to buy them for his living expenses. Lin Jun did not want to do that either. It would delay his herb planting plan. The price of herbs and pills could not be compared, but he could not do without money. At this moment in the dimensional universe, Gu Yunjie called out to Lin Jun again. Brother Lin, let me tell you a piece of good news. Do you want to hear it? Oh, what do you mean? Huan Yong from our hometown club has gone missing. Do you think it's good news? Missing? Will he be back in 2 days? Definitely not. Something like this has happened to our hometown club in the past. They never came back after they went missing. Gu Yunjie was obviously very happy. Brother, this guy Huang Yong has always been above me, holding the title of the #1 expert in the association. Now that he has disappeared, the position of the #1 expert in the association is mine. In the future, there will be no one above you in the association. To be able to say such things to Lin Jun proved that Gu Yunjie really treated him as one of his own. Lin Jun was also quite happy for him. Congratulations, Brother Gu. You've waited for so long. Ha ha. I should congratulate you too. Get ready. The president wants to bring you to the Temple of Longevity to pay respects. Temple of Longevity? Brother, don't tell me you don't know about the Temple of Longevity. In the Yuan realm, there are many Temple of Longevity. Every Temple of Longevity's owner is a Longevity realm ancient martial art practitioner. These ancient martial art practitioners often explain cultivation knowledge. Not everyone is qualified to listen to them. It's a great opportunity for the president to bring you there. You have to seize it. When are you going? Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, when the red planet reaches the west of the horizon, you can come over. After explaining some things to take note of, Gu Yunjie hung up the dimensional universe communication. Lin Jun could hear a hint of jealousy in Gu Yunjie's words. It was obvious that the opportunity to go to the Longevity Shrine was very rare. However, Lin Jun didn't feel any joy. He stood up and silently paced around the room. After a while, he seemed to have figured something out. Lin Jun used what little money he had left to stay in the hotel for another night. The next morning, he checked out and went straight to his hometown club. When Lin Jun arrived at the Fellow Townsmen Association, a carriage was already prepared for him. It was said that the guild leader was waiting for him at the Temple of Longevity, so he could just take the carriage there. 2 draconic horses pulled the carriage. The horses had scales on their bodies and dragon whiskers on the sides of their mouths. They had dragon blood in them. The price in the dimensional universe was $300,000 per horse. It seemed that the guild leader, Su Xingyao, was quite rich. Most of the alchemists were rich, as this profession was extremely expensive and profitable. Without money, one wouldn't be able to do it. After getting into the carriage, the draconic horses began to accelerate. They were traveling at sublight speed. Lin Jun thought that he was going to enter a parallel universe. In less than half an hour, the carriage arrived at the Temple of Longevity that was located outside the city. The Temple of Longevity was actually the home of the immortal level martial artists. Every martial artist would choose a place to build their home when they reached immortal level. The more powerful the martial artist was, the bigger and more beautiful the temple would be, as it would attract more low-level martial artists to visit the temple. They would need to spend money to visit the temple. Just like the incense in the temple, the more people who visited the temple, the more money they would earn. On the ground, a gigantic temple that was hundreds of meters tall rose from the ground. In front of them was a sturdy road paved with celestial stones. There were flowers and trees on both sides of the road that led straight to the entrance of the temple. There was no need for anyone to maintain order. Everyone would automatically get off the carriage and walk along the road. They would not make any noise as a sign of respect to the immortal level god. Lin Jun followed the crowd and arrived at the entrance of the temple. There were two human-shaped statues of an unknown style that were used as pillars to support the roof. The entrance that was hundreds of meters tall was majestic. People were like ants when they walked in. The owner of the Temple of Longevity was called Shui Jing. He was the most powerful person in Muang province. After he reached immortal level, he settled down in his hometown. Not only would ordinary martial artists visit him, but even the Wood King would visit him frequently. In front of the immortal level god, the Wood King was nothing. As soon as he arrived, Lin Jun received a friend request from the dimensional universe. It was from Su Xingyao. President, I'm here. Yes, the visit will only start later. Go to the 17th room on the left of the temple first. I'll wait for you there. I'll tell you the details. Lin Jun agreed and walked along the walls of the temple. There was a row of guest rooms far away. Lin Jun walked to the 17th room and knocked on the door softly. Come in. Su Xingyao's voice was a little hoarse. He sounded like a dying man. Lin Jun pushed the door open. The door closed automatically as soon as he entered. It was a huge suite. The first thing that entered Lin Jun's eyes was a gigantic pill furnace. There were 8 legs in total, and each leg was a golden dragon. It looked simple and majestic. It was made of purplish gold essence. There was still residual heat inside. It seemed like it had been refined not long ago. If this pill furnace was bought in the dimensional universe, it would cost at least tens of millions. An ordinary pill refiner would not be able to afford such a high-end item. There were rows of red gourds on the wall. They were probably used to store medicinal pills. Lin Jun walked past the alchemy room and entered the room. Su Xingyao was lying on the bed. His body was motionless. Only his chest rose and fell slightly. If not for this, Lin Jun would have thought that he was dead. President, what's wrong? Lin Jun came to the bed. Su Xingyao slowly opened his eyes and gave Lin Jun an ugly smile. After not seeing him for a few days, he seemed to have aged a lot. The flesh on his face had sunk in. Help me up. Lin Jun helped Su Xingyao sit up. He leaned against the headboard and took out a pill from a gourd. He swallowed it. After a while, his complexion looked better. Sigh, I can't. I'm old. I don't have many days left. Lin Jun did not continue the topic. When a martial artist's lifespan was about to reach its end, no one could do anything about it unless they could break through themselves. Su Xingyao looked at Lin Jun and suddenly said, Lin Jun, as someone who came from the new territories, what is your attitude towards us martial artists from the new territories? Lin Jun pondered for a moment. We must establish ourselves in the primordial realm and not be bullied. Good. I like to hear that. Su Xingyao clapped his hands fiercely. His face was a little red. Lin Jun, if I hand the new territory's hometown association to you, can you guarantee that the martial artists from the new territories will eat and sleep well in the primordial realm and that everyone will be safe? Hand over the hometown association to me? But I've just arrived. Su Xingyao shook his head. It doesn't matter if it's one more day or one less day. The key is in other people. I don't see a man who can take responsibility. Moreover, in terms of talent, your talent is the highest. The fact that you were recognized as number one during the black hole stage is enough to prove everything. Lin Jun did not speak for a long time. He did not want to take over the hometown association. It was undoubtedly a mess. Managing it would definitely delay his cultivation. Moreover, he felt that Gu Yunjie seemed to want to take over the hometown association. Lin Jun did not want to compete with him. However, Su Xingyao obviously did not have many days left to live. Lin Jun could not refuse such a method of entrusting him. Su Xingyao took out a token from his spatial ring with trembling hands and handed it over personally. Lin Jun, I'll hand the hometown association to you. This way, even if this old man dies, I can close my eyes in peace. President, I think Gu Yunjie is more suitable for this position. He's still a little lacking. He's too utilitarian. He's not suitable. Seeing that Lin Jun had no intention of taking it, Su Xingyao was a little anxious. Lin Jun, this old man only has this little wish before he dies. Can't you agree to it? Even if you don't want to do it, can't you find another suitable person to spread the word? All right then, I'll take it. Lin Jun reached out and took the token. Just as the two of them came into contact, a sudden change occurred. The token was not a token at all. It was something like liquid metal. It instantly became a lock and locked Lin Jun's hands. Lin Jun retreated at lightning speed, but he could no longer remove the handcuffs. Ha ha ha. Don't waste your time. This is made of soft gold from the primordial realm. Without more than 1,000,000 stars, you can't force it off. Lin Jun surrendered. Su Xingyao, who seemed to be on the verge of death a moment ago, suddenly became lively and lively. His face was flushed with excitement. Lin Jun wore the metal handcuffs and stared straight at Su Xingyao. Why? Su Xingyao sat up on the bed and sized up Lin Jun. TSK, TSK. What a young body. You're even a Chilean race galactic beast. The #1 black hole talent in the new territories. You're truly a rare gem. Why? I don't think I've offended you. That's right, you haven't offended me. But you should know that a man's wealth is his own ruin. Lin Jun, you have such good talent, but this is your sin. This old man doesn't have much time left. There's no hope for me to become a world king. If it were anyone else, they could only wait for death. Chapter 620. Memorize 69 books in 1 second. No pop-up window. Free to read. Looking at the excited Su Xingyao, Lin Jun said coldly, "Possession. That's right. You can say that from now on. Su Xingyao will die, and you, Lin Jun, will still be alive. However, the one who will truly die is you. The one who is alive is just your body." Su Xingyao slowly approached Lin Jun. "I will live on with your identity, new president. With your body, I even have the confidence to reach the immortal level. Do you think you will succeed? Of course. Possession is just a legend to you. However, the art of alchemy is broad and profound. It can always do things that others can't. As long as I kill you, I will naturally have a way to become the owner of your body." Su Xingyao was obviously very excited. He even began to think about the future. With your body, becoming a world king is not a problem at all. There's also a great hope to reach the immortal level. It's just a matter of cultivating for a period of time. By the way, I heard that you and the beauty Feng Qingwan have a relationship. I will also love her for you in the future. Hee hee. It's so good to be young. No amount of money can buy it back. Lin Jun was not as flustered as he imagined. Instead, he said calmly, "President Su, you must have suffered a lot to learn alchemy for so many years." Nonsense. How could the art of alchemy be so easy to master? I have been learning alchemy since the new territories. It has been more than 4,000 years, and I have only reached the peak of grade 4. Oh no, just yesterday, after I killed Huang Yong, I used his flesh and blood to refine the pill and successfully advanced to grade 5. You're a grade 5 alchemist. Lin Jun was also shocked. Of course, if it wasn't for my dying days, I wouldn't have to resort to this. Do you know how valuable a grade 5 alchemist is? It is more important than a world king powerhouse. In the future, not only will I become an immortal level martial artist, but I will also become a grade 7 alchemist. Lin Jun smiled. Your vision is beautiful, but it can't be realized. What a joke. You are now a turtle in a jar. Do you still want to turn things around? President, how much star power is your star power? Humph. When I passed through the heavenly gate, my star power had already reached 1.05 million. However, when I reached the primordial realm, my life force began to decline, and my star power gradually weakened. Now, it's less than 750,000. Otherwise, I wouldn't have to go through so much trouble to lock you up. After all, Lin Jun, this is my mercy. Lin Jun, this is the end of it. Don't blame me. Everyone wants to live. After all, everyone wants to live. Your body, I. Lin Jun, consider. Lin Jun did not look sideways as he stared straight at the incoming sword. When the sword was halfway through, Su Xingyao stopped. No, this body is mine. If it is damaged, I will be in trouble. Let's do it another way. With that, Su Xingyao suddenly approached Lin Jun and took out a golden pill. Eat this. You will die painlessly. His hand shot out like lightning, trying to grab Lin Jun's throat and force the pill down his throat. He grabbed onto a ball of air, and Lin Jun actually disappeared from where she stood. Clang! Clang! The metal handcuffs fell to the ground. Where is he? Su Xingyao looked around in disbelief. He had prepared this room for a long time. The whole space was locked, and there was no way to teleport. Moreover, there were handcuffs on Lin Jun's hands. How could Lin Jun escape? Suddenly, a huge amount of astral power rose from the ground. A small stone rose into the air and instantly turned into Lin Jun. A sharp spear pierced towards Su Xingyao's face. You probably don't know about the transfiguration technique. As long as I want to, I can change into any size. Your handcuffs can bind anyone. The spear pierced through the air. It was too late to dodge. Su Xingyao hurriedly raised his sword to block. Clang! After a huge collision, Su Xingyao's body was smashed into the wall. He hit the protective barrier of the room and bounced back. Su Xingyao was not Lin Jun's opponent when he was unprepared. He never expected that Lin Jun would be so difficult to deal with. Feeling that he was no match for Lin Jun, he wanted to use his trump card immediately. However, Lin Jun had rich combat experience. He did not give him such a chance. After gaining the upper hand with his spear, the astral power in his body exploded and a black hole appeared. The shrunken black hole filled the entire room and enveloped Su Xingyao. Lin Jun now had 670,000 astral power. Even if Su Xingyao was at his peak with 1,050,000 astral power, he would not be able to resist the black hole, let alone now. He screamed and flew uncontrollably into the black hole. What kind of move is this? There's no need for you to know. Die. A person would be compressed and decomposed quickly in the black hole. A planet could be compressed into a ball in the black hole. A person would not even be considered as a speck of dust. I know a lot of secrets. I can teach you the art of alchemy. I'll give you money. Hee. Enter the black hole. Everything you have will be mine. Lin Jun ignored him and increased the input of astral power. The black hole spun rapidly and completely swallowed Su Xingyao. Pata! Su Xingyao's spatial ring was removed under Lin Jun's control. After all, the black hole belonged to him. It had to be operated according to his will. Receiving the spatial ring, Lin Jun's mental power immediately entered the black hole. In the terrifying black hole, Su Xingyao's shadow was about to collapse and dissipate. That was where his soul was. When Lin Jun's mental power wrapped around it, Su Xingyao could even feel Lin Jun's existence. He wanted to cry for help from Lin Jun. A person who had lived for thousands of years did not want to die, no matter what. Lin Jun was not moved at all. He directly used his black hole beast talent. Soul Search. Streams of mental power flashed in the air. Su Xingyao screamed. His soul was twisted in the air, and his memories were stripped away. This was a very tragic way to die. Without a body, his soul was forcefully taken away. His body and soul were destroyed, and he would never be reincarnated. The entire process lasted for 5 minutes. 1 minute was equivalent to 1,000 years. A huge amount of memory information poured into Lin Jun's mind. If it was an ordinary person, they might be attacked by this memory and become an idiot. However, Lin Jun would not. This was his talent, his ability. He could absorb other people's memories without even a headache. Su Xingyao had completely dissipated. Lin Jun sat cross-legged on the bed and began to organize his memories. At the beginning, it was Su Xingyao's childhood. As a child, he had also experienced hardships and hardships. Just like many other warriors, he had worked hard to cultivate. However, Lin Jun was not interested in these things. Soon, he found a technique to completely discard Su Xingyao's memories that were useless to him. What he kept was the other party's cultivation of martial arts, his understanding of martial arts, and his mastery of alchemy. Of course, there was also a very important piece of information, which was his bank card password. As the president and a fifth-grade alchemist, Su Xingyao should be considered rich. However, perhaps because he felt that he was going to die recently, he used all his money to buy some medicinal herbs for alchemy. There was not much left in his bank card, only 1.5 million. More than $1 million for Lin Jun was also relieved. He immediately took out all the money in the other party's card and transferred it to his own card. The other party's martial arts also have some merits. However, the cultivation of martial arts is relatively long. Compared to his martial arts, his knowledge of alchemy is too rich. Thousands of years of alchemy was not something that could be completely digested overnight. Even if Lin Jun could grasp the other party's memories, he still needed a process of familiarization. Lin Jun did not go to the Temple of Eternal Life to pay his respects. Instead, he left here and found another hotel. He stayed there for a full 10 days. During these 10 days, he did not do anything. All his energy was used to digest and absorb the other party's memories. Finally, he managed to take Su Xingyao's alchemy knowledge as his own. In addition to normal alchemy, Su Xingyao was also proficient in some sorcery. For example, the method of possession was obviously unorthodox. Ordinary people would only hear of it, but he was the first person Lin Jun had seen who knew how to use possession. In addition to possession, he was also proficient in the creation of clones and the creation of poisons. Back then, Lin Jun had also created clones, but that was built on the basis that he and Xiao Wan were connected by blood. However, Su Xingyao's methods could refine any body into a clone. I should find another opportunity to refine a clone. A good clone's strength will surpass the original body. As long as the clone I refine now is not too bad, it should be able to reach the level of a domain monarch. That will be the greatest help to my strength. He also brought Su Xingyao's things over, such as the finished elixirs, the pill furnace that looked very good, and the large amount of herbs in the spatial ring. Lin Jun transferred everything that could be planted into the dark star space and planted them in the valley. Back then, he planted more than 10 types of herbs, and Su Xingyao's spatial ring had more than 300 types of herbs. Lin Jun also chose more than 100 types that could be planted. After planting them, almost half of the valley was covered. Su Xingyao also has the elemental gathering elixir here. If I consume all of it, it will be enough for me to advance to level 5 Nebula Realm. However, I still want to try and see how it feels to refine elixirs by myself. Now that I have enough herbs, I can start refining now. There are still 5 days to go to Mu Wang Province to recruit guests. If I can refine a large amount of elemental gathering elixir before then, it will definitely be of help to me. If I can't finish using it, I can sell it. I heard that there is an alchemist guild in the Yuan realm. If I can take the alchemist assessment there, then my elixirs will definitely be able to sell for a good price. Chapter 6:21. The elemental gathering powder was the most popular pill on the market. No matter what realm a martial artist was in, they would need a lot of elemental gathering powder. As long as you wanted to cultivate faster than others, you couldn't do without it. However, if you took too many pills, some toxins would accumulate and form pill toxins. Hence, pills couldn't be taken constantly. There was also a pill called Frost Congealing Pill. It was used to remove side effects and neutralize pill toxins. Its sales were quite good. However, it was troublesome to take pills frequently. Hence, there were 2 criteria for the quality of elemental gathering powder. One was that it increased the accumulation of star power enough. The other was that the side effects were small. Those that met these two criteria were considered good medicinal pills. There were two main types of pill toxins. One was fire toxins, and the other was medicinal toxins. The medicinal toxins could be reduced as much as possible, but the fire toxins couldn't be neutralized because you couldn't do without fire when refining pills, unless the alchemist had the power of fire and the power of water at the same time. The fusion of water and fire could effectively neutralize the fire toxins. However, it was almost impossible for an alchemist to have both fire and water. Two completely opposite elements wouldn't appear in a person's body at the same time. However, Lin Jun didn't have this concern. With the dark star as his foundation, he could have any kind of energy. A dark green flame was shot out and started to burn in the pill furnace. After the furnace heated up completely, he threw in the first ingredient and started refining pills. According to his memory of Su Xingyao refining pills, Lin Jun carried it out meticulously to avoid any mistakes. After 10 minutes, Lin Jun's hand trembled. He made a mistake. Some of the ingredients were very similar, but Lin Jun wasn't familiar enough and took the wrong one. After carefully identifying the two similar ingredients, Lin Jun started refining pills for the second time. The second time, he didn't control the temperature of the flame well and made a mistake again. He continued for the third time. The third time, he put in too much of the ingredients and made a mistake again. On the fourth time, Lin Jun followed his own ideas and made a mistake again when he injected cold air to neutralize the pill toxins. He repeated this process over and over again for 3 days. It wasn't until the morning of the fourth day that Lin Jun finally succeeded for the first time. After injecting cold air, traces of black gas rose from the pill. Those were the toxins. When the black gas in the pill was mostly consumed, the fire toxins had been neutralized. There were only traces of pill toxins left. Open! The pill furnace opened. Lin Jun raised his hand and collected all the pills in his palm. Golden cores the size of peanuts were spinning in his palm. There were over 100 of them. Lin, calm, were the ingredients. Master, the effect of this energy-gathering powder is very good. The effective increase rate has reached 92%. It's a top-grade pill. You can sell it on the market now. Isn't it peerless? Lin Jun wasn't willing to give up. This is already very good. Master, you have to know that pills with an efficiency of less than 60% can't be eaten. It's a failed product. 60% to 80% is a low-grade pill, which is relatively cheap on the market. 80% to 90% is a mid-grade pill, which is the mainstream pill on the market. As for 91% to 95%, it can be sold at a very good price. As for pills with an efficiency above 96%, they're peerless and can't be bought on the market. But Master, this is your first time refining pills, and you've already refined a high-grade pill. This is simply unbelievable. Hearing Lin Jun's explanation, Lin Jun's mood improved. Then how much can these pills be sold for? Master, low-grade elemental gathering pills are 1,000 for one pill, middle grade for 3,000, and high grade for 10,000. You have about 100 pills here. Selling them for 1 million is definitely not a problem. Then I'll give it a try. Oh no. Master, I suggest that you take the test to become an alchemist first. Without the identity of an alchemist, your pills are just common goods. Only by setting a label that belongs solely to you can your pills become famous in the future. Therefore, I suggest that you take the test to get an identity first. All right, I wonder what identity I can get for refining the elemental gathering pills. Just this one is not enough. You need to refine other pills to prove your ability. But looking at the quality of your pills, it shouldn't be a problem to get a 4th grade alchemist identity. A 4th grade alchemist identity is very noble. In the Alchemist Guild, 4th grade alchemists are the guild's deacons. They can even be given their own alchemy room and special servants. If you can get a 5th grade alchemist identity, you will be an elder. An elder of the Alchemist Guild has the qualifications to be called a master. That is an existence that is more popular than a world king. Su Xingyao was also unlucky. Just as he became a 5th grade alchemist, he was killed by Lin Jun. Otherwise, if he could survive, he would be incomparably glorious. Even the Wood King would treat him as an honored guest. It is very likely that he would not continue to stay in Muang province. Instead, he would go to Xianlu province or even southern Liang country. Unfortunately, just as he obtained the strength of a fifth-grade alchemist, he died in the hands of Lin Jun. Lin Jun carefully inquired about the Alchemist Guild. Only then did he know how big this guild is. Alchemists are a transcendental group. No one is willing to offend a high-level alchemist. This is because the other party may know many world kings or even immortal realm powerhouses. If they casually say a word, there will be people who will chase you to death. There are basically no peerless pills circulating in the market. This is because when alchemists occasionally refine pills, they will immediately be privately bought by powerhouses. Therefore, powerhouses are willing to make friends with alchemists. This is why alchemists have a very high status. If I can become a fifth-grade alchemist, then the Alchemist Guild will even have 2 world kings as my bodyguards. This is simply too awesome. If I become a 6th-grade alchemist, then there will be immortal realm powerhouses as my bodyguards. At this moment, Lin Jun did not even want to participate in Mu Wang province's recruitment. Staying in the Alchemy Guild is a better way out. However, after thinking about it again and again, he decided to go and take a look. The top few alchemists have very good rewards. It is worth a try. Since the pills are temporarily not for sale, Lin Jun took them for himself. Lin Jun took the elemental gathering powder that Su Xingyao left behind and the elemental gathering powder that he refined himself. If it were other people, they would eat the elemental gathering powder one by one. However, Lin Jun is a black hole beast that devours everything, so he ate them by the handful. The 200 elemental gathering powder gathered a large amount of star power and crazily accumulated in Lin Jun's Dantian. Lin Jun had only advanced to a 4th-grade galactic system for less than 2 months. With the help of the pills, he actually advanced to a 5th-grade galactic system. His astral power had also increased from 670,000 to 710,000. Chapter 622. Mu Wang Province's recruitment of foreign delegates was a grand event. Nebula stage martial artists were nothing in the primordial realm. To be honest, martial artists at this level had pitifully few cultivation resources. They could earn money to support themselves, but it was difficult for them to cultivate. Nebula stage martial artists with no background were almost always troubled by money. The top 10 foreign delegates recruited by Muang Province would not only be provided with cultivation resources by the Muang Province, but they would also be rewarded with cash. The first place would receive 10 million in cash every month. The second place would receive 8 million. The third place would receive 5 million, and the 4th to 10th place would receive 1 million each. The huge cash reward for recruiting the top 10 moved many Nebula stage martial artists, and the number of people who signed up was innumerable. The location of the test was in the dimensional universe. Through the dimensional universe, everyone arrived in front of Mu Wang Province's gate in the virtual world. When signing up, everyone was registered with a number. Lin Jun found that his number was around 70,000, which should be considered relatively high. Looking at the number of people here, there was definitely more than 1 million. Everyone was waiting here, guessing what kind of test the Wang Mansion would use. Could it be that 300,000 people would fight in the arena? That might take a very long time. After waiting for a while in front of the Wang Mansion's gate, the gate opened. Lin Jun saw the martial artist called Mu In stand up and say loudly, "The Wang Mansion selection has begun. Everyone, pay attention to your own dimensional universe. The Wang Mansion has already sent an email to everyone. Follow the email address and enter the virtual world opened by the Wang Mansion." Lin Jun immediately checked the dimensional universe. There was indeed an email. Speed competition. The general content of the email was that the Wang Mansion had opened a virtual world, a 9-story tower. Every martial artist would start from the first floor. Whoever passes through the 9th floor and leaves the tower first would be considered the winner. Hint: there are 3 galactic beasts in the 9-story tower. One is on the 1st to 3rd floor, one is on the 4th to 6th floor, and one is on the 7th to 8th floor. However, the martial artist has to discover which floor they are on. These 3 galactic beasts were all at the World King level. To a Nebula Realm martial artist, this was an irresistible force. This was the danger they would have to face. If one could kill a World King level galactic beast, the Dimensional Universe Corporation would reward them handsomely. However, no one in Mu Wong Province knew what the reward would be. This was a rule set by the Dimensional Universe Corporation. The virtual world was created with money. This seemingly impossible mission was the Dimensional Universe Corporation's way of encouraging martial artists to train hard and challenge those of a higher level. After reading the emails, every martial artist was very confident and felt that they could fight for it. Although it was impossible for them to kill a World King level galactic beast, they were still able to compete with other martial artists. Moreover, they wouldn't suffer any losses even if they died. Thus, everyone was filled with confidence. It was the same for Lin Jun. Now that his astral power was 710,000, he believed that he wouldn't lose to anyone in the galaxy stage. He would definitely be able to secure one of the top 10 spots. As for whether or not he could get into the top 3, Lin Jun couldn't guarantee it because there were too many unknown factors. Everyone has read the emails. Now, the countdown for the competition begins. Once the countdown is over, you can enter the virtual space. Muin paused for a moment before continuing. When the virtual world was first created, we didn't expect so many people to come. In order to prevent everyone from rushing in, the entrance was sealed. Therefore, the countdown is divided into many levels. Every minute is a level. Every minute, 10,000 people will enter the virtual space. Everyone's entry time is random. If you enter the virtual space after 30 or 50 minutes, don't complain. It won't make a difference if you decide the outcome. Everyone buzzed in discussion, but no one raised any objections. They believed that their luck wouldn't be that bad. However, Lin Jun had a bad premonition. When Mu In was speaking, his eyes swept over him. Perhaps there was something fishy going on. All right, the countdown begins. When you see a countdown of 60 seconds in your dimensional universe, congratulations. You're about to set off. You can't fly or teleport inside. Once you're inside, run as fast as you can. I hope you can pass the test smoothly. After saying that, Muin closed the door and went back. The remaining million warriors stayed and waited. Soon, cries of surprise came from the entrance of Mu Wong Province. Many people had already received the countdown. A minute later, the first batch of people had already entered the dimensional universe and started moving. The second batch was ready to set off. The number of people decreased by 10,000. All of them had entered the virtual tower. Lin Jun looked at his number. Perhaps he would receive the countdown in the 8th batch. However, 10 minutes later, the number of people in the square decreased by 100,000. Lin Jun wasn't among them. Lin Jun even heard a warrior beside him say, "In this random selection, it's easier for those with the first number to get the first chance. Those who sign up later have a lower chance. There are very few exceptions." 30 minutes later, the number of people in the square decreased by 300,000. Lin Jun still wasn't among them. An hour later, the number of people in the square decreased by 600,000. Lin Jun finally understood that Muin didn't want him to pass the test. That was why he had used such a despicable trick. He guessed that he would be in the last batch. Indeed, more than 100 minutes later, more than 1 million people had set off. When there were only about 3,000 to 4,000 people left in the square, Lin Jun finally received the countdown. It's really shady. I hope that someone won't break through the 9-story tower the moment I enter. If that's the case, there won't be any hope. Light flashed in front of his eyes. The next moment, Lin Jun appeared on a large grassland. The green grass in front of him extended all the way to the horizon. A special aura came from a place diagonally in the distance. That was the entrance to the next level. Let's start running. Seeing such a vast map, Lin Jun regained some confidence. He still had a chance. However, before he could start running, a strong wind came from the side. A martial artist had actually made a move against him. Lin Jun's body tilted slightly, and his palm struck the attacker's chest with lightning speed. Energy element explosion. An energy ball exploded in his palm, killing the martial artist on the spot. The body turned into light and dissipated in the air. The average Nebula stage martial artist was not Lin Jun's match at all. Lin Jun knew that there would definitely be a battle here. However, he hadn't expected that someone would make a move against him so quickly. Moreover, the attack was so decisive. It seemed like there was a motive. Indeed, the next moment the second attacker appeared. In the crowd, a martial artist wielding a long spear flashed. Like a viper, the spear pierced towards Lin Jun's throat. Lin Jun frowned slightly. He opened his hand, and a gravitational force pulled the martial artist to the side. Then, with a flick of his finger, a beam of golden chi shot through the martial artist's forehead, destroying his brain. After killing the second, the third attacker's sword was already at his back. This was the virtual world. It didn't matter if one died. Therefore, the attacker could attack Lin Jun without restraint. At this time, Lin Jun was completely sure that the other party had planned this. In the last batch of people who came out, there might be many more hidden attackers. If he continued to fight, he might not have another chance. The yin-yang spear appeared. After blocking, he quickly stabbed and finished off the person with a single spear. Sure enough, as he expected, the fourth person followed almost immediately after the third person died. The strength of these martial artists was average. However, if they were killed one, by the time Lin Jun finished killing them, the competition would probably be over. Lin Jun's mind moved, and a mental attack directly hit the person's brain dead. This time, the attack was very fast. The next person wasn't ready, giving Lin Jun some time. Lin Jun quickly retreated and ran forward. Chase! Don't let him escape. If he escapes, we won't be able to complete the mission. Go, drag him to death here. It turned out that all the martial artists in this batch were arranged by Mu Wang Province to snipe Lin Jun. When they saw Lin Jun running, they all chased after him. Lin Jun sneered and increased his speed. Soon, a long and narrow group of people was formed behind him. In a few more seconds, the other party would spread out in a fan shape. This was his last chance. Lin Jun took a step back. Black gas floated above his head. The black hole beast had appeared. The huge beast opened its mouth, and the black hole inside enveloped everyone. I don't have the patience to play with you. Since you dared to attack me, you can all go to hell. Roar! The black hole appeared, and the naked singularity released a powerful gravitational force. Black death ripples floated, and it was as if the sky had opened. Everyone seemed incomparably small at this moment. Those with 1.42 million star power and below could not resist the black hole. F*CK. It's a black hole. Run. Split up and run. What a scam. They actually sent us to deal with a martial artist who can create a black hole. These over 3,000 Nebula Stage martial artists had never experienced such a situation. They screamed and wanted to escape, but there was nowhere to run. The black hole spun, and the death ripples shrouded all life forms within sight. Those with less than 1 million star power couldn't resist at all. There really weren't any experts among them. There were even some with a few thousand star power. Most of them were in the tens of thousands. There were a few experts whose star power had reached hundreds of thousands. However, in front of Lin Jun's black hole, they were no different from ants. Everyone was swallowed by the black hole in a second, leaving behind an empty wasteland. The black hole beast opened its mouth and closed it. 2 streams of black smoke came out of its nostrils, and then it transformed back into Lin Jun's real body. Lin Jun didn't even blink when he killed a large group of martial artists in one move. He then turned around and ran. He took a look at the running progress ranking in the virtual world. Currently, the first place had reached the 4th level, and he was in the last place among everyone. Currently, there were only 1 million people left, and he was ranked at the top of the list. Chapter 623. The entrance and exit of the first level were diagonally opposite each other, and the distance between them was about 10,000 kilometers. Lin Jun unleashed his astral power to withstand the strong gravity of this world. He ran in a straight line and accelerated to 100 times the speed of sound. 100 times the speed of sound meant 34 kilometers in a second. Without a strong astral power, one would not be able to withstand the strong gravity and reach such a high speed. After running for 100 seconds, Lin Jun had already covered more than 3,000 kilometers. At this time, he had also caught up with the group of people in front of him. Lin Jun had been tricked on purpose. The people in the same group as him were all arranged to snipe him. The people in front of him were the unlucky ones. They were running with all their might when they saw someone chasing after them. Some warriors even wanted to snipe Lin Jun, but Lin Jun's speed was too fast. He was like a cannonball. With a boom, a cloud of dust flashed before their eyes, and he had already disappeared from their line of sight. These martial artists, with only a few tens of thousands of astral power, could not stop Lin Jun at all. They could not even slow him down. After overtaking this group of people, Lin Jun's ranking had reached 990,000, and it was still rising. The grassland was the best place to run. There were no obstacles. This was the best time for Lin Jun to increase his speed. The only thing he had to worry about was whether the galactic beasts that appeared in the first 3 levels were on this level as well. However, it was clear that there were no galactic beasts on the first level. Lin Jun quickly passed through the first level and jumped through the light door at the entrance, appearing on the second level. The second level was not so easy to run because it was a forest. Lin Jun looked at the ranking. He was currently ranked 960,000, and the first place was Mu Huayu, who had reached the 5th level. I wonder if there are galactic beasts on this level. Let's hurry. After running for 2 steps, Lin Jun stopped. It was very difficult to run in the forest. There were trees everywhere, and he could not increase his speed at all. I have strong astral power. I don't have to run around the trees like ordinary people. I could just run over them. Lin Jun raised his hand, and the yin-yang spear appeared in his hand. He aimed at the forest in front of him and shot out Thunder Kill. The light and thunder energy turned into an energy beam. Lin Jun's astral power was more than 700,000 astral power. It was like a powerful laser beam, and it directly blasted a path of hundreds of miles in the forest. Lin Jun increased his speed and ran along the path. Countless trees flew past him, and he could only see a blur of color. Just as he was about to reach the end of the path, Lin Jun once again used Thunderkill, clearing out another path through the trees. Before the trees collapsed, Lin Jun had already turned into a stream of light and sped through. His ranking was like a water meter that jumped all the way up. Soon, he entered the 900,000 range. This was because not only did Lin Jun surpass groups of people, but there were also other cultivators fighting on the road. There were constantly people being eliminated, which was why his ranking rose so quickly. Speed. That Lin Jun's rank has reached 880,000? In Muong province, Muin looked at Lin Jun's rapidly rising rank and gritted his teeth. Those people you arranged were all useless. They were actually wiped out by Lin Jun. Muon, let me remind you in advance. The first place this time must be taken by the crown prince. Mu Jingshan, who was dressed in a brocade robe, held a cup of wine in his hand. Yes, Your Highness, don't worry. This Lin Jun is only on the 2nd level, and his rank is in the 800,000 range. He definitely can't threaten the crown prince. I just didn't expect him to be so decisive. In order not to be entangled, he directly killed 3,000 people. Oof, that's your negligence. You thought you arranged for those weaker, nebula stage cultivators to delay him. You didn't expect him to fall for it. However, to be able to kill 3,000 people in one move, this Lin Jun is definitely a big threat. Think of a way. We must not let him get to the front. Your Highness, don't worry. After the 2nd level, there's a galactic beast on the 3rd level. By the time Lin Jun gets there, most people should have passed. It will be difficult for Lin Jun to face the galactic beast alone. That's good. In any case, I don't want to see any accidents. The first place must be the crown prince. This time, I broke the rules and let the crown prince participate. If he can't get first place, this plan will be ruined. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. When Lin Jun was halfway through the forest, he realized that there were other warriors running in front of him on the path he had created. Lin Jun's face turned cold. Without hesitation, he waved his long spear, and the 2nd thunder kill shot forward. Wherever the light passed, large groups of martial artists were directly vaporized. Lin Jun's path was unobstructed. Some martial artists who had escaped the disaster cursed. Lin Jun was unmoved. Even if this was the real world, those who blocked his path would not be spared. let alone in the virtual world. At the end of the second level, Lin Jun's rank was 830,000. Continue to the third level. Lin Jun passed through the light door and entered the third level. This level's terrain was a swamp. The martial artists finally slowed down here because there were many dangers in the swamp. Huge pythons rolled in the mud. Although these pythons were not galactic beasts, they were equivalent to peak nebula stage beasts. They posed a great threat to the martial artists. Without a doubt, the galactic beasts from the first to the third level are on this level. I have to be careful too. The softness of the mud was beyond imagination. As long as one's foot landed on it, there would be a strong, pulling force dragging the martial artist down. Furthermore, there were also huge pythons coming after hearing the news. It could be said that the martial artists were like the 8 immortals crossing the sea. Some of them had huge wooden boards tied to their feet. Some of them were jumping like monkeys, and some of them were using 2 long poles to push themselves forward. Lin Jun stood at the edge of the swamp and raised his hand, sending out a wave of cold chi. Although Lin Jun's cold chi was not as strong as his fire, he had grasped the true essence of the power of ice. When the cold chi was sent out, a 10-li-long path of ice appeared above the mud. He used the yin-yang spear in his hand as a pole to support himself. With a whoosh, his body slid forward. The ice was not very stable, and there were places that were constantly being destroyed by the huge pythons. Lin Jun, on the other hand, was like a brave warrior surfing the waves, constantly advancing through the rumbling ice and frost. With one hand supporting the spear, a ball of cold chi was constantly brewing in his other hand. When there was no path ahead or danger, the ball of cold chi would be sent out. SSSSS. A huge python broke through the layer of ice and opened its bloody mouth. Lin Jun sent out a ball of cold chi, directly freezing the 10-meter-long monster into a popsicle. Then he began to slide on its back. It was like riding a roller coaster, going up and down. His speed was faster than anyone else's. Looking at his acrobatic speed, the surrounding martial artists who were moving forward like snails opened their mouths wide. They did not expect that one could play like this in the swamp. One by one, the martial artists were left behind. His ranking soared from 830,000. When he was halfway through, he had entered the 600,000 range. If this continues, I might be able to enter the 500,000 range on this level. Just as Lin Jun was thinking this, a ball of black gas rose up in front of him. A group of martial artists was trekking through the swamp. Suddenly, a series of bubbles bubbled up from the swamp. Then, a giant python several hundred meters long appeared. It opened its mouth, and a huge suction force swallowed all the surrounding martial artists like a whale sucking in water. A world king level galactic beast. Lin Jun smashed the ground with one hand, and a large block of ice formed a 10-meter thick layer. The surrounding snakes were unable to break through it. He stood on the ice and carefully observed. Although there was a world king level galactic beast blocking the way, it was unable to stop the onslaught of martial artists. This giant python did everything it could to kill. It swallowed, crushed, and spat out venom. Groups of martial artists fell to the ground. However, these martial artists did not die for nothing. They tried their best not to gather together and instead circled around in different directions. Although the giant python was rapidly killing, there were still martial artists who managed to escape. After watching for a minute, Lin Jun decisively took action. While the giant python was killing several other martial artists in the distance, he sped up from another direction. Unexpectedly, the giant python gave up on the other martial artists and rushed towards Lin Jun. In its eyes, Lin Jun was a guy with an extremely vigorous astral force. If it ate him, it would be a great tonic. Lin Jun furrowed his brows as well. Waves of ice shot out, paving a long path as they advanced at high speed. As for the giant python, it opened its mouth and chased after Lin Jun with a distance of only a dozen meters. Pieces of ice danced around Lin Jun. He could even smell the stench of the giant python's mouth. This won't do. If this continues, I won't be able to escape. With a thought, Lin Jun threw the yin-yang spear to the ground and shook his body. Beast transformation. A huge black Qilin appeared. Lin Jun had entered a level 5 galactic system and was one step closer to complete Qilin transformation. Now, it was difficult to find any human characteristics. He was almost a Qilin. After appearing in the galactic beast body, Lin Jun turned around and immediately used the black hole storm on the giant python. The suction force of the giant python could not be compared to the black hole storm. However, it was still at the level of a world king. It could struggle and resist the suction force of the black hole storm. This giant python's astral force had definitely exceeded 42 million, or even more. It could withstand the power of the black hole storm and move forward with difficulty towards Lin Jun's black hole beast. Its mouth was dripping with saliva. If it could swallow such a large Qilin, it would definitely be a great supplement. However, resisting the black hole storm was not easy for it. Its muscles were trembling and twitching, making it difficult to get close. There was even a brave martial artist who slashed the giant python with his saber. However, the giant python was indifferent. It could no longer care about others. The two giant galactic beasts were locked in a stalemate. In the end, the giant python was stronger and was about to reach Lin Jun. Its green eyes flashed with a savage light. It was going to bite down. At this critical moment, the black hole beast suddenly retreated. The giant python immediately chased after it, instantly crossing a distance of several hundred meters. Lin Jun slid along the ice under his feet. The giant python chased after him. This section of ice was less than a kilometer long. When Lin Jun retreated to the end of the ice, the martial artists passing by all knew that the Qilin was finished. But just as the giant python's mouth was about to bite Lin Jun, its body suddenly fell limp. The giant python's head heavily smashed into the ice, causing it to crack open. Then, bright red blood spread out from the belly of the giant python and covered the ice.